When I'm driving an F1 car, steering wheel feedback is one of the most important things. It helps me decide when to brake and how hard. It's how I feel the surface of the road. Every bump in the terrain, every wheel slip. If my tyres are starting to lose grip, I can sense that immediately. When I'm driving in a sim, I need that same tactility, that level of detail I have in a real car.
Racing games have come a long way in the last 20 years. Nothing's really changed in how we approach force feedback in all that time. Cutting-edge sims are now so realistic, drivers across all disciplines are using them for training. Our main goal when designing True Force was to improve the number of sensations that you actually feel, to put you better in contact with the car that you're driving so that you can improve your performance and that enjoyment of driving on a track. The physical feedback needs to be more immediate or accurate, or a player loses immersion or control.
Game developers are still having to recreate their force feedback from a set library of effects instead of deriving it from real-time modelling.
True Force is special because it levels the playing field for PC and console gamers. You're now getting the extra level of precision and detail that you need, regardless of which platform is your choice. This is not just iteration, it's total evolution. True Force force feedback works differently. It hooks directly into the physics engine of the game. Games already calculate the forces on the tyres and the steering wheel. The True Force algorithm is able to process this data at up to 4,000 times a second. It will even use the game's audio engine and pass it directly on to the driver.
We spend a lot of time as audio designers trying to make each car sound unique and as realistic as we possibly can. Being able to integrate the audio into the force feedback is something that we've wanted to do for a long time, and True Force enables us to do that. And the ability to send the audio to the wheel, to have it respond and vibrate with the loss of traction, really increases my ability to give that immersion to the player.
You can sense the changing surface of the road. You'll be able to feel if the back end of the car is losing grip.
The first time we had it running in the build, I could feel the wheel humming and vibrating as we revved the engine. Our immediate reaction was it really adds another level of immersion.
The first thing you're going to feel with a True Force wheel is the engine note. The minute the engine starts in the game, you will know exactly which car you are driving. True Force is the beginning of something new. This is now the foundation for all wheels that we'll produce in the future. This extra level of information gives everyone all the information they need to learn how to control their car better. True Force benefits any racing fan looking for a more realistic driving experience.
Because winning is all about feeling.
It's motorsport, but not as you know it. Test yourself and your everyday road car. Safe, affordable, but most of all, fun. And all you need is your daily driver. Experience the thrill of a sprint day, race against the clock at a hill climb, or test your reflexes with an auto test. It takes just 3 simple steps to get started. Get on the start line. Search Motorsport Australia Daily Driver today.
It's super sprint time. 2 races, 2 chances of glory, or defeat. Tonight we head to the streets where the racing is close, but the wolves are even closer. 2 28-lappers where you can sure there will be plenty of drama. Last race at the Red Bull Ring saw SSR head the field. This time, the chasing pack will be so much closer. This track in the past has given us chaos. Could there be a winner from somewhere we don't expect? Wayne Burke and Ando go really well here, and they are in need of some points. So why not start here? No matter what happens, you won't want to move from your seat, as you don't want to miss this. Welcome to Belle and to the Logitech G Pro Invitational Cup. G'day and welcome to Belle, everyone. It should be a thrilling night with not 1 but 2 races. Strategy will play its part here, as well as a bit of luck. To call the action tonight, we have Lockie Mansell and Brenton O'Brien. Gents, it's coming down to the business end now. The Enduros are right around the corner. What does this mean for those who are fighting for the championship?
Thanks, Cass. Yes, the season of endurance is almost upon us, but the key to winning this championship might actually just be not leading it. And I know that sounds a bit counterintuitive, but when you look at the championship so far this season, the leader has changed at the end of every round. Good evening, everybody. It's Lockie Mansell in the commentary box. Great to have your company for round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational E-Series. We're in the final stages of practice on the Belle Straight Circuit. Joining me in commentary, it's the series administrator for what has become the premier series of sim racing in Australia. It's a very good evening to Brenton O'Brien. Well, it sounds like we might have lost Brenton there for a minute, but anyway, we are in the final stages of this practice session. James Scott, our current championship leader, sitting on top of the timesheets at the moment ahead of Jared Filsell. We saw a terrific battle between the 2 Synergy Sim Racing teammates in the previous round of the series at the Red Bull Ring. Let's actually have a look at the championship standings as we come into this round, the 7th round of the season. It is actually the 6th round that we will have completed because we had to change up the schedule a bit earlier on in the year. We've still yet to run round number 4 at Road America, but this is the final event before we get into our endurance races at the Sandown 500 and the Bathurst 1000. So the last opportunity for our main title protagonists to jockey for position in the title race before we get into the Enduros. And very shortly we'll start to no doubt reveal the co-drivers for each of our respective title contenders. Now it sounds like we've got Brenton. Good evening, Brenton. How's it going?
Oh, the power of the mute button, Lockie. It's quite powerful when you try to talk and I'm spitting out a mouthful of marbles and nothing was coming out. Look, thank you for having me again. Didn't plan on being here, but straight up have to acknowledge the reason why I'm here is because Sandman's not here tonight. He had a really bad mishap last Friday night, so all our thoughts are with you tonight, Sandman. He's had a bit of a mischief, shall we say, and all of us here, the drivers, the admin, the fans who love Sandman's work, we absolutely miss him. We can't wait for him to be back for our next round at Sandown, but for now, yep, you're stuck with me and I'm looking forward to what is going to be 2 really good races.
Yeah, so back to the twin race format tonight for the first time since Phillip Island. So a pair of 28-lap races with 1 compulsory pit stop to be completed in each race and a progressive grid format. So where you finish in race 1 will set your starting position for race 2. As mentioned, let's have a look at the championship standings. So James Scott on 890 points is your series leader. Madison Down 868 points, sitting in second position. Jake Burton on 844. 4. He was the points leader before the last round at the Red Bull Ring, but had some dramas. Finished a lowly 18th, and that has seen him slip back to 3rd in the standings. Ethan Grigol, 828 points for him in position 4. Brady Myers rounding out the top 5 on 804 points, so only 86 points separating the top 5 in the standings. Then it's Andrew Gilliam, 789, Rick Kuznetsov, 747, Dylan Rudd at 717, Dylan O'Shea, 668, and Brenton Hobson at 662 points rounding out the top 10. Brenton, a good mixture of drivers and teams within the top 10 in the championship so far.
Yeah, it really is, and there's a couple little snipers in there, like James Scott, Madison, Jake, Ethan, Brady, Andrew, all consistently up there, are always doing a really good job. We haven't spoke about Rick Kuznetsov pretty much at all this series, and there he is in 7th place overall. Dylan Rudd, his teammate, Dylan O'Shea, his teammate. The 3, 9 and 5 cars between positions 7 and 9 just continue to impress, but they don't do much. Dylan O'Shea and Dylan Rudd have certainly had their times up the front, but it's Rick Kuznetsov. But it's really important that this qualifying that we're about to go out now, so it's set as a 20-minute qualifying, but in this mode, once that 20 minutes is up, times will stop. You don't get that extra lap. So we've set it for a bit extra time. But the grid positions that we lead now are going to be imperative for the whole night, because if you start back in the pack in race 1, chances are you're going to be back in pack by the time race 2 comes around. There's not a lot of passing here. Really tough street circuit. Safety cars percentage is very high. Not too many races you have here without a safety car. So strategy will play a part, absolutely. But looking forward to this really intense 20 minutes.
Well, it's a typical straight circuit in that regard, isn't it? Because there is no margin for error. It is a concrete canyon and there's not a lot of runoff. So if you make one mistake, you are going to wind up in the fence. And hence the reason that there is that high probability of safety cars. So, like you said there, overtaking opportunities are at a premium. So that's going to make this a fiercely contested qualifying session, because all of the drivers are going to need to start as far up the grid as they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Last race we had a really, really great qualifying session at Red Bull Ring. The whole weekend, well, the whole night was just absolute premium. And James Scott came out on top in qualifying. But the best thing about qualifying last race was that we had 5 teams, 5 different teams in the top 5 positions. And that's exactly what we're after. Just the mix of teams, the mix of drivers. And the drivers are really producing a great show week in, week out.
And it's good to say that, you know, you mentioned there the 9-5 SimSport team. They've really risen to the fore so far this season. We saw some very impressive performances from both Rick Kuznetsov and Dylan O'Shea in the qualifying series that we had at the start of the year. But then we know that the Trans-Tasman crew are always going to be there. We know that the Synergy Sim Racing guys are always going to be there or thereabouts. Yourself as the team owner of the Evolution Racing team, Brenton, we know that you run a good show and that you've got some very capable drivers, led, of course, by Ethan Grigol. So, yeah, it's a good mixture of teams that are in contention for race victories and in contention for the championship. But like I said, this round, it's the last opportunity for the drivers to jockey for position and get themselves as high up the leaderboard as they can before they have to share their car with somebody else for the Sandown 500 and the Bathurst 1000 that we've got coming up soon.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. And so, like putting the independent hat on here, not the ERT hat on, you'll see that over the years, TTR dominated. Then ERT had a shot 2019 where ERT dominated. And then SSR started dominating. Then we had Altus come and go very quickly. But again, they put in with Jordan Cruz, they put in a really strong show. And then it's back to SSR again. They're doing a really cracking job. The difference here, though, is there's always TTR is always around. They're there and thereabouts, winning, coming second, podiums every race. But there's now other teams like ERT are on their way back up. 9-5 are certainly there. Yeah, we also have to absolutely remember that Andrew Gilliam, Michael Taliangics, these guys with their team, Job Stewart, they do a fantastic job as well. So there's teams battling all over the place to get in the top on the podium and hopefully they'll ultimately win.
So lap time starting to come in, and one of the things that we discussed off air before the broadcast started, Brenton, is the fact that the track temperature is quite high. It's over 40 degrees. That means that we're expecting that tyre degradation today is going to be quite high as well. So in qualifying, what that means is that you're probably only going to get one flying lap in which to set a lap time before your tyres fade away. You'll have to come back to the pits, bolt on another set of tyres and go again. In this session, you've probably got the time for 3 or maybe even 4 runs, but it's all about nailing that flying lap the best that you can.
Absolutely. So track temp at the moment, 45.6, is partly cloudy. Yeah, all it takes is a bit of cloud cover to come over and away we go. So that track temp is going to lower as the day goes on. Like I said, we've got two races ahead of us, but this is where the qualifying is all important. We've still got 15 minutes to go, so still a long way to go. But like you said, there's only one good lap in these tyres. Second lap's not going to get you anywhere. Cash in your early chips, I say, with the track temp this high, because like I said, hopefully for the driver's sake, it will drop, but at least get a good banker in.
Jared Filsell has done that, 1 minute 29.4, so he currently sits on top of the timesheets after the first round of flying laps ahead of Brady Myers, James Scott, back to Andrew Gilliam and Madison Downell. Rehan Lienage up inside the top 10 after the first flying laps. One of the youngest competitors in the field is Rehan.
The youngest.
Well, there you go, the youngest. And we've seen a bit of promise from him, haven't we, at various stages so far this year?
Yeah, absolutely have. Well, he's quite a young fella, isn't he? You know what I mean? He impresses every week that we send the cars out. Like, he trips over a few times, but at that age, with that experience, who doesn't? And, all he's doing is going to get better and better every week. But, Jared has led the way with a 129.400. He's only 9 1,000ths quicker than Brady Myers. And that just shows you the quality of what we've got here today. I'll tell you one guy to look out for who's been sneaky quick, and he'll deny it, is Jordan Ross. He's in P9 at the moment. His other half, Jackie's in hospital at the moment, Jackie. So if you ever listen back to this broadcast, we wish you all the best. Your husband's doing all right. And yeah, he goes all right here. SSR go all right. The other drivers, I find, seem to go okay here. And he's down a bit at the moment. It's Wayne Burke, P24 at the moment. I always find that he goes all right. And same with Josh Anderson. He's a sneaky chance as well. He's up to P7 at the moment. From my memory, which isn't the best at times, but from what I remember and what I've seen from Josh, he goes real well here.
Yeah, been a bit of a patchy campaign so far for Josh Anderson this year. We saw at the start of the year that he got involved in incidents in the opening couple of rounds, which left him well down the leaderboard, and since then he's been in comeback mode, currently sitting 22nd in the championship on 496 points.
And you look at the quality of the drivers who aren't in the top 20. So don't forget, top 20 that go for this year's championship go through to automatic qualify if they want to for the 2024 season. But from positions 21 down, you'd have to go through a qualifying process again February next year. So there'll be 4 races next year, and that way you qualify or re-qualify for some of these guys to get back in. But you look at the quality of drivers not in the top 20. Jared Filsell, Josh Anderson, they're P21, 22. And then you keep scrolling down. Michael Talangic, Richard Hampstead, Jordan Ross. Jordan got a podium at Red Bull Ring last year. And Marcelo Rivera down in P36. Another one. He was on pole position at Spa last year. And I think front row grid at Winton last year. These are guys who are starting to think not so much about the championship. They're thinking of survival, trying to get themselves in the top 20.
Yeah, well, it'd be a turn up for the books if Jared Filsell didn't finish in the top 20 in the standings and had to pre-qualify. You would think based on his pace that he would make it into the top 20. He was the round winner last time out at Red Bull Ring, but apart from that, it's been a shocking season for him so far, with a combination of DNFs and penalties and stewards' appeals that have gone against him.
Yeah, P21, like I would think by the end of the night, if he gets that car to the finish line in one piece, I think by the end of the night he'll be in the top 20. But then we're going to be having which cars drop out of the top 20. At the moment on the bubble, Sean McNamara at 95. He's did a really good piece actually this week. If you go check our webpage, the Logitech G Pro Invitational webpage, you'll see the piece that Sean McNamara did on the bubble and what it means to him to stay in that top 20. And it's important to him. And just in front of him, you've got 2 ERT guys. Are they going to have to battle each other to stay in the top 20? There's a lot of questions that are going to be answered. And tonight is when we start really, really asking the hard questions.
We're seeing some serious commitment for some of these drivers on their flying laps on the exit of turn number 6, rubbing the cars right up against the wall. So that just goes to show you the amount of commitment that is required, and these drivers putting everything on the line as they try and get the absolute maximum performance out of their race cars.
Yeah, we've got Andrew Gilliam's gone up into second place now, so at the moment the front row feels still ahead of Andrew Gilliam, and there's only 8 1,000ths between the two of those. And Madison Down, James Scott, sorry, P4, our series leader, Madison Down, shadowing him. He's in P2 overall, right behind him. And Jordan Ross, like I said, he's the roughie this week, up to P6.
One of the staggering aspects of this season so far has been the minuscule margins that we've seen between cars in these qualifying sessions, and as things stand at the moment, we've got the top 10 cars separated by 0.26 of a second. So, you know, it's literally the blink of an eye. 0.3 of a second is the difference between being on pole and being outside the top 10.
Yeah, and I reckon also, I think by the time this finishes, I think it'll be even closer. I think it's just going to keep tightening up. And we're talking about Josh Anderson before. You know, he's gone from P7 to P11 in a blink of an eye. But he's quarter of a second off a pole position. And I think that these times will close up. Like 45.6 is the track temp now, so it's dropped just a little bit. Probably won't make a significant difference. But when you're talking 8 1,000ths of a second, that could be the link right there.
So at the moment, Synergy Sim Racing, Pursuit Sim Racing, Trans Tasman Racing, all inside the top 3 positions. Best of the Trans Tasman cars so far, Brady Myers sitting in position number 3, Madison Down in 5th, Jake Burton back in 8th position at this stage.
Yeah, so Jake had a, let's call it what it is, a pretty lackluster performance at Red Bull Ring. And then ultimately, in the end, as the race was coming to its completion, got caught up in somebody else's incident. One of the cars just backed out in front of him, and Jake had nowhere to go. But that's the type of thing that wins and loses championship. You know, like it only just nipped Jake, but it was a significant cost to him. Like he put him into the gravel trap, and he lost a lot of time. And so that's the type of thing. If he doesn't get involved with those type of things, not his fault, but if he doesn't get involved with things, that's about a 20-point swing for him. Those 20 points might absolutely be imperative by the end of the season. And another guy here, Hayden Veld, was slightly disappointing over the last few weeks, but he's quick enough, and we've got right now the 3 ERT guys all together.
Yeah, all working together on track at the moment. Bailey Frid on screen. He's a bit further down the order, sitting in 34th position at this stage. A couple of drivers yet to bank lap time, so Hayden Veld yet to get a time on the board, so too Brad Rattu. Jake Maloney hasn't recorded a time yet, neither has Brian Borg.
Yeah, so, well, Jake's definitely going to need to be throwing a time there. P17 overall in the standings, but he's been in the pit for quite a long time. I see he's been in the pits for over 3 minutes, so I think what's going on there, look, he might have been on song with everybody else doing a quick lap and had an off or something like that. So instead of going out and being caught in the traffic, I think he's probably been pitted it for now, and that way he'll blend back into it. We've got 7.5 minutes of qualifying to go. Must remember though, in this format, that when it's a zero, when it zeroes down, that's when time's up. You do not get another lap after zero time.
So you really need to start your final lap at about the, let's say, the 18.5 minute mark to guarantee that you can complete your final flying lap before the session concludes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, the guys are doing 1 minute 29, so yeah, you're spot on. You get past that start-finish line, 18.5 minutes to go. Oh, sorry, after 18.5 minutes, yeah, you should put in a time if you get a good lap in. So, but it's really come down to, like I said, these last few minutes. And with the track temp, again, slightly coming down, there's an expectation that the times that we've got there now might not stand up. And or those that do stand there, there's going to be some shuffling within that pack.
So as the track temperature keeps decreasing, what it means is that you really need to time your last lap. So you do need to try and get as close to that 18.5 minutes as what I said to ensure that you're on the track when the track conditions are at their optimum.
Yeah, absolutely you do, absolutely. And And further to that, the track rubbers in a little bit more as well. So, we see it in Formula One, people trying to leave their lap to as late as possible. It's no different on iRacing. The track rubbers up, the track's cooling down, it's come down another little bit now. And like I said before, all it takes is just a little bit of cloud cover and you'll see the massive difference that it makes to times. So P5, we've got Madison down, and like I said, he's still right behind James Scott. So Madison's doing a really good job, and Madison carries a world of experience here. Like a lot of these guys raced in the E Series, which was around here a couple of years ago, and that's why I rate people like Wayne Burke, because I know he did a really strong effort that night in the E Series. So we've got a lot of talent here, and I'm sure as this time goes on with qualifying and the 2 races ahead, there's going to be a lot of action.
Well, we've just had a couple of changes at the top of the leaderboard because Andrew Gilliam briefly moved to the top of the order, but he was then immediately displaced by James Scott, who was on pole for the last round as we see Marcello Rivera's fired up one of the escape roads. If you do come into a corner a bit too hot, you are better off going up the escape road than whacking the wall and damaging your car, because the no escape rule is in force. So you do have to try and get back to the pits if you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, you got James Scott on pole, but he's like we're talking minuscule times here. We're talking just under 6/100ths between first and third. Jared didn't improve on his time last lap around, so he's dropped down to third. Brady Myers fourth, Madison Downs fifth. So there's that little gap between our leaders in the championship now. James has done a great cracking job to be in pole position at the moment. There's still 4.5 minutes to go. Jordan Ross still in 6th position. He's in the pits at the moment. Not going to get a lap together right now. And then you got Ethan Griggold, Jake Burton, and Marcelo Rivera, and rounding out top 10, Joe Stewart.
4.5 minutes remaining in this session, so only a couple of chances left for drivers to improve upon their lap times. I reckon depending on where you are on the track, you might just about have time to get back to the pits and grab a fresh set of tyres and have one more run at it, but you'll need to get a move on.
Yeah, absolutely. You're going to need to get a move on. What have we got? 4 minutes to go. Take away a minute and a half. Yeah, you'll be able to box right now, get some fresh rubber on, get your out lap. It probably won't be as slow an out lap as what you would hope. You'd probably have to put a little bit of pepper on it and then get that final chance. Track temp has not moved at all, and at the moment it doesn't seem to be any improvements, and most of our top 10 are in the pits. Most of the field's coming into the pits right now to get some fresh rubber on and go from there. Still have a couple of cars about to start a lap. Dylan O'Shea, who's in P19 in the car 19, he's just about to start his quick lap now. Has done a pretty good job in qualifying throughout, just hasn't been able to nail that one perfect lap.
Actually managed to move up that time around, so that was completing a flying lap. He's jumped up to position 14. We look at Brenton Hobson, and he's a bit further back as well, down in 27th position at the moment for Hobbo, who currently sits inside the top 10 in the championship after a typically consistent season so far.
One of my favourite liveries I call it the tennis ball livery. I just think it's simple but so effective and absolutely stands out in the crowd. So does Hobbo with his driving. We're not expecting him to come 6th tonight, but he's always there and thereabouts. And SSR, extremely strong team as we know. Looking forward to seeing who Hobbo partners with for the Enduros, because whoever's sitting behind Hobbo knows that car's going to get to the finish in a competitive position and will be right in the action by the end of it. So looking forward very much to seeing where that car's going to go.
Right, we're getting towards the business end of the session now, aren't we? This will be the drivers coming up to start what will be their final flying laps before the time expires on this session.
Yeah, if you're not going past the start-finish line in the next 30 seconds, you're not going to be getting another lap in. So, there's going to be a bit of anguish out there. There's going to be a bit of anxiety. Cars might be wanting to try and push their way through the pack a little bit more than what they would want normally. A couple of cars have come into the pits from their previous hot lap, so that is it for them. I can't see them getting out again, getting a lap in. Actually, well, they won't get a lap in. So the positions from 7, Ethan Griggold's one of those cars that come in the pit, so he won't improve his time. Track temps remain the same, so we've got a minute 40 to go.
Here we go, so final flying laps coming up for these drivers, riding on board with Brady Myers at the moment, currently sitting in position 4 on a 1 minute 29.409. the time to beat if you want pole position. It stands at a 1 minute 29.324 at the moment, recorded by James Scott.
Yeah, it looks like a bit of anxiety I could hear from Brad Ratu's car, the car 938. Not sure what's happened there, but it'd be worth having a look at for sure. So he's called it into the stewards. Just have to have a look to see where we're at.
While that's happening, Brady Myers. Oh, so that's, there we go. So there's been an accident there, just coming through that technical complex of corners through turns 8, 9 and 10. There was a car up against the wall. Not sure who that was, but fortunately it was off the racing line, so I don't think it's impeded anybody's laps.
It looked like the Luke Mitchinson car, the 04. Just, yeah, I'm not sure on that completely, but it did look like Luke's car was up against the wall. And I would think, you know, the fact that Brad Ratu's called it in, there's obviously been an incident there between the two of them, I'm guessing, but there just seems to be a bit of consistency with that. We're down to our last 15 seconds, and we've got a brand new guy on pole position at the moment.
We do. Brady Myers has gone to the top with a 1 minute 29.292. So it looks like it was on a very good lap, and indeed it was. It's good enough to vault him to the top of the order. And that will be pole because the checkered flag's out, so nobody has time to beat it. He times that to perfection, Brady Myers. He got across the line with, what, 10 seconds or less remaining on the clock.
No, that was an absolute cracking job by Brady Myers, and he's pipped series leader James Scott and Andrew Gilliam for that pole position. So a fantastic job by Brady Myers, who has driven really, really well throughout so far. Maybe at times without a bit of luck, but no, that's a fantastic job, and he'll be wrapped with that.
So he is your pole sitter for round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro E Series at Belle Isle. James Scott joins him on the front row of the grid. Andrew Gilliam and Jared Filsell will start on the second row. Then it's Madison Down and Jordan Ross out of positions 5 and 6. Jordan Ross having one of his best qualifying results in a while. Ethan Grigolt in 7th. Back then to Jake Burton, Marcello Rivera and Job Stewart rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic job. And we've got a few guys that we can actually talk to, starting off with Andrew Gilliam. He's actually going to be joining us shortly. Yeah,
one of the things that we love to do in the Logitech G Pro E Series is a grid walk before the start of each of our races. And in fact, we might bring in, before we get to Andrew Gilliam, we'll bring in our pole sitter, Brady Myers. Brady, congratulations. You absolutely nailed that final flying lap to perfection. You got across the line and took the checkered flag just before the clock ran out.
Yeah, timed that one pretty nicely. It's pretty wild at the back end of the lap. There's a fair bit of carnage going on, but managed to stick the lap together, which is awesome. First pole, I'm pretty stoked.
Walk us through the lap, because it looks like there was a bit of an accident on that lap as well. There was a car up against the wall that you had to negotiate your way past.
Yeah, I didn't expect to see a car facing towards me, coming towards the fountain, but yeah, didn't distract me too much. It was a bit annoying, but yeah, still managed to stick the lap together and stick it on pole, so I'm wrapped.
Obviously, you've got the 1 lap speed, but how do you think your Trans-Tasman racing car is going to be over these 2 28-lap races that we've got coming up tonight?
I think we should be all right. I think we got a pretty decent package together. Managed to come up with something pretty juicy across the last couple of days, so hopefully we should be all right.
Well, go well in the race tonight, Brady. All the best.
Thanks very much.
And joining Brady Myers on the front row of the grid will be James Scott. He was on pole position in the last round at the Red Bull Ring, and he's narrowly missed out tonight. And Brenton is over on grid position 2 to have a chat with James.
Yeah, good on you, James. Well done on what was an awesome qualifying session, mate, and very important with the 2 28-lappers. How did you feel it went?
Yeah, mate, not too bad. Obviously just missed out on the pole, but no, that's all right. Glad just to be starting up the front. Obviously it's a pretty tough track, not being able to rub any of the walls or anything and invalidate your lap. So I was lucky I got in a fairly decent banker pretty early, which allowed me to sort of just push that extra little bit for my final runs. But yeah, no, can't be too upset with where we're starting. We'll see what we can do in the race.
If you could do us a favour, Scotty, and put your car on the grid, that would be outstanding. We can show you and your car and your sponsors. Mate, what does this mean for the championship already on. It's only still mid-season, but what do you feel in the championship here?
Yeah, obviously, when I saw this round on the calendar, obviously I didn't really know what position I was going to be in the championship or anything, but I knew this round could sort of have the possibility to really shake up the championship standings quite a bit. So we've done the first part, which is qualify well. Obviously, passing's pretty tough, not impossible, but pretty tough around here. We sort of only one genuine passing opportunity, maybe down the back straight as well, but yeah, we just need to keep our nose clean, not get any incidents, no penalties or anything like that, and see what we do. But obviously, first stop, you got to try and get off the line well. On the short ratio, it's always tough.
Yeah, good on you. Thank you for that, mate, and good luck to you, and wish you all the best for the race. And Lockie, we've got Dylan Rudd with us.
Indeed, so I've wandered a bit further down the grid, back to position number 15, where we find Dylan Rudd in one of the 9.5 SimSport machines. Dylan, a little bit further back on the grid than we've become accustomed to seeing you this year, but how was that qualifying session?
Yeah, not as far up as I'd like. Just couldn't put the lap together, unfortunately, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Is there anything in particular that you're struggling with, maybe in terms of a bit of car setup, because all of the 9.5 SimSport cars are a bit further down the order tonight?
I don't know. It's a tough track to do a good lap in general, but obviously any little mistake and lap time's gone. So yeah, it's a tight field, so any mistake, it makes it hard to qualify up the front.
One of the positive things, though, is that you've got a couple of your teammates fairly close to you. In fact, there's 4 9.5 SimSport cars between position 14 and position 19. So how much will that allow you to work together once we go racing?
Yeah, hopefully it should be good. Hopefully we can just work off each other to move forward up through the field and, yeah, see how that goes.
All right, well, go well tonight. We look forward to seeing you press forward.
Thanks, mate.
And a bit further back in the pack, Damien Johnson back in position number 29 in car 033, and he's standing by for a chat with Brenton.
Well, Damo, welcome to the Pro Series, mate. I don't think we've had the chance to have a chat on the grid before, so P29, tell us how you felt that went.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, good to chat with you boys, first time, so see if we can progress today and get some good points.
Mate, I believe you're actually driving really well. I've watched a few of your races, and so I don't think P29's really where you're at. I think you're a bit further up. So what's your strategy tonight to work your way back into the field, get yourself up the grid a little bit more?
Just hopefully keep it clean. It's going to be a tough track, very tight. So we've actually had some hardware issues as well the last 3 months, so we're on top of that, and hopefully can get some pace back.
Well, you're going to have to get yourself some Logitech G product there, mate. That'll solve those issues, no worries at all. Mate, your championship so far, you been happy with it?
To be honest, no, with those issues, but we're just going to progress now and try and make that top 20. That's my aim now, so we'll see how we go.
Well, mate, work yourself up to P29. Mate, it's not the worst performance in the world. Mate, we wish you all the best for the rest of the race. We're just going to clean the grid right now, and you get yourself ready for the start, and wish you the best of luck.
I will. Cheers, boys.
Cheers. And that was Damien Johnson. And I'm telling you, so I do have watched a bit of Damien's races, and he's very underrated, and he's someone who has forever improved. He just seems to be getting stronger and stronger throughout the races. And I there's a couple of guys I pay particular attention to. Damo's one of the good guys for sure. And I tell you right now, he will work his way up the grid, and you won't be in P29 by the end of this race. Or he'll just sneak him to the top 15 by the end of it.
Yes, however, we've just heard that he is going to get a 10-second penalty for impeding another car during that qualifying session. So, unfortunately,
how's my timing?
That's unfortunately a bit of the commentator's curse there, but nevertheless, good to hear from Damien Johnson. Good to hear from a few of the other drivers on our grid walk as well. It's what we like to do, giving everybody heaps of coverage in the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series. 28 laps the distance for both of tonight's races. Blake Warboys, we're hearing that he's going to get a 10-second penalty for impeding another car during that qualifying session as well. So a few decisions being handed down by the stewards. Those penalties will need to be served during the compulsory pit stops in this race. And there will be compulsory pit stops in both the races that we've got tonight, in which The drivers can take tyres if they wish, but the requirement is that the cars be raised up on the jacks. So you don't necessarily have to change tyres, but given the high tyre degradation tonight, Brenton, you would expect that a lot of the drivers would stop at around the halfway stage of the race and bolt on some fresh rubber.
Yeah, those at the back of the field will probably take that chance with no tyres just to save themselves 7.5, 8 seconds. Tell you one thing, there's been a lot of cars on the grid for a long time with their engines on. The temperatures we're building in this hot track temperature, 43.9 track temp, 29 degrees ambient. There's a lot of cars sitting here. I'd be watching the temperatures for sure.
Sitting there idling, waiting to come under starters orders. There we go. There's all of our stats and race facts. So an ambient temperature of 28 degrees, track temperature currently sitting at 44, fractionally cooler than it was in qualifying, but still pretty warm. And that means that tyre degradation will absolutely be a factor tonight. Brady Myers on pole position, James Scott alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then it's Andrew Gilliam and Jared Filsell back to Madison Down, Jordan Ross, Ethan Grigault, Jake Burton, Marcello Rivera and Job Stewart. James Scott is the points leader, but as I said at the top of the broadcast, the championship lead not necessarily where you want to be, because every round so far this season the points lead has changed. Will James Scott be able to preserve his advantage at the top of the points table tonight, or will we see another change in championship lead? We'll find out the answer to that question for a couple of 28-lap sprints here at Belle Isle. This is round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational A Series.
Yeah, it's not long now, the revs will be building. 28 laps, we call them super sprint. The races, the engines are building.
So set for a race start here in the hands of the starters. Everybody concentrating hard on Barney in the starters gantry. The green flag waves and we're underway for round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational A Series at Belle Isle. And it's a case of just making sure you survive the first couple of tight turns, staying away from those concrete walls. It's Brady Myers who has leapt to the lead ahead of James Scott, and already running a very defensive line. Andrew Gilliam moving to the extreme inside of the road to make sure that Jared Filsell can't take him on the outside.
Yeah, really clean start by all that I've seen. I haven't seen too many incidents, and everyone seems to have held position. Andrew Gilliam has just been on a bit of defence with Jared Filsell right behind, and just like Red Bull Ring, Jared's going to want to make his way up through the field, get to his teammate James Scott, where the two of them do work really well together. Madison Downs had a good start. Jordan Ross and Ethan Grigault went a bit too wide. Ethan's had to yield that position back to Jordan, so really quality start by all.
And you can already see that the drivers are exploring the track limits. A couple of puffs of smoke as the drivers rub their cars up against the concrete walls. This is a bit of an idea of how tight it is a bit further back. In the fact that's Dylan Rudd and Job Stewart battling it out for position. That's super tight through there. Dylan Rudd holds station on the inside of Rayhan Leonage on the outside.
Yeah, so there's 2 by 2 as they go through turns 11 and 12. Down to a third gear corner here. Short shift to 4th on exit here. On the power, really careful on the power. This track's super bumpy as we exit the last corner as we finish our first lap.
And bumps in the braking zones, they can be one of the real challenges to deal with on a street circuit like this one. It's super easy to lock a brake and go firing up an escape road or worse into the wall, but good heads-up smart driving there from Rehan Leonage, just breathing out of the throttle, making sure that Dylan Rudd was able to get through safely. As we see, that's Ethan Grigault battling it out with Jordan Ross.
Now these two have got history, don't get me wrong, they get along okay, but these two have got history of bumping into each other. It certainly happened at Winton last year. I think it happened at Spa as well. There's a couple of times where these two have tripped over each other. As you can see, a bit of concrete dust flying from the wall, so these guys are getting really close to those walls, obviously, thinning their cars down a little bit, losing a couple of mirrors here and there. But Jordan Ross is not an easy guy to pass at all. We've also got Andrew Gilliam in 3rd place. He's gone already, has to go defensive with Jared Filsell behind. 28 lap race. Yes, it's a super sprint, but there's strategy to be in place here. Get your car to the finish. Make sure you've got yourself every chance of getting up on the grid for race 2. Do you attack now, or do you just sit back, gather some points, and then go hard in race 2?
And also, how much risk do you take in trying to overtake on the track when there are some strategic opportunities to make positions, as we've got an incident a bit further back in the pack? That's Sebastian Vardell and also Kurt Stenberg in one of the other Trans-Tasman Racing entries has been caught up in that one. Significant damage to the front of Kurt Stenberg's car.
Yeah, so there's Tom Freeman, Bailey Frid and Kurt Stenberg involved with an incident here. Looks like, oh, so Stenny's, yeah, okay. Quite common around here, unfortunately. So Stenny's just driven himself into a wall and you just don't get a chance to react. So Bailey Fridge just had no time to react there, and we'll be able to see where Stenny's just he's given that wall a whack, and then bang, the ERT 53 has gone in right with him, and then Thomas Freeman, I think, is also, there he is, the 444, sorry, that'd be Sebastian Vardell, also an innocent party. So yeah, can you imagine if that happens at the front of the field? Yeah, it's absolute chaos behind. Those guys, I don't think Stenny's going to get much of a chance to fix that by the time this race is done.
No, and unfortunately, Jake Maloney, one of the other Trans-Tasman cars, got caught up in that accident as well. So a few cars having to come in for early and unscheduled pit stops with damage. So,
yeah, so that's 5 cars that are effectively out of the race from a singular mistake. People make mistakes, these things happen, so I'm not pointing the finger at anyone. But the fact is that, you know, on a street circuit like this, that's the type of thing that can happen. That's the type of thing you've got to try and avoid. That's the type of thing where 4 cars, unfortunately, weren't able to do.
Yeah, and I think fortunately for everybody else, it did happen a bit further back in the pack, because like you said, Brent, imagine if that had happened up the front, we could have been dealing with a dozen car pile-up. Jordan Ross, he had his best qualifying performance in quite some time, but at the moment, he's the cork in the bottle, because he's got a big freight train of cars forming up behind. Ethan Grigont, Jake Burton, Marcello Rivera and Josh Anderson all queuing up and putting the pressure on the Synergy Sim Racing Mustang.
Yeah, and the time will come because Jordan is off pace compared to those up front. Don't forget, he has spent a bit of time defending, which is going to cause this. Ethan's going to make a move. He's going to be fully committed here, and he will get that job done. The next thing is, I was going to say, I think it's Jake Burton's going to make the same move. Oh, contact there.
Oh, does Jake Burton hold on to it? I think only just, but he will lose a couple of spots out of that one. Rivera goes through. And around the outside as well goes Josh Anderson, so he's lost a couple of spots, but a brilliant save there for Jake Burton. That could have very easily turned into a disastrous spin and then subsequently getting collected by the oncoming traffic.
So that's championship implications, that save. That could have absolutely been all over Jake. Look at that, he's full out sideways, full drift mode, he's backing it into that corner. That's championship implications because he bends it and he goes to the back of the field here. He starts at the back of the field for the next race. So that is a magnificent save. That's, I'll tell you, so the best save I've seen for a while was Madison down turn 1 at Watkins Glen. That is right up there considering the circumstances and the room that he has to work in.
Jordan Ross losing out of that one as well. He got checked up and lost a few spots. So Jordan Ross, who was up in 6th a lap ago, now back down to 12th position.
Yeah, as I said before, like he's a little bit off pace in race trim. Certainly his qualifying performance was very strong. But yeah, let's face it, it's still not the end of the world. Like, he just needs to get some points. He needs to bank some points, work his way that by the time the last race comes around, he gives himself a chance at the top 20 overall. He's not winning the championship, we know that. He's a very strong endurance driver where the points are doubled for Sandown and for Bathurst, so he's not totally out of it. We see that the car 55, the car 55 has a penalty as well for car contact with 04. So that would be Luke Rosella.
Yeah, so that was a bit earlier in the race, I think, with Sebastian Vardell was the car that he made contact with. So, yeah, already the officials have been quite busy with imposing penalties on some of the drivers in the field.
Yeah, absolutely. In some racing incidents, obviously, but in this case, the stewards have seen the best way to resolve this situation is a 5-second penalty. Not forgetting, though, that they can serve their penalty in pit lane. So that's a massive thing that we've introduced as a series, is that you can get your penalty over and done with during the race. You don't have to worry about having time at it at the end, unless there's no pit stop to come. So they can genuinely see where they are on the position on the track and work their way back through.
Yeah, I always think it's a good thing where possible for drivers to be able to serve their penalties during the race, because then you have the opportunity to recover from it, whereas if it gets added onto your time at the end of the race, then it's done and you don't get a chance to recover those lost positions.
And it also cleanses the field with penalties for the second race. Like, you know, so you might not choose to do your 5-second penalty, well, generally in race 1, and you'll be higher on the grid in race 2. But no, we want you to do your penalty during the pit stop, and that way we'll know exactly where you are for race 2.
Riding on board with Jake Burton, so he's in 9th position at the moment, just behind Josh Anderson. Marcello Rivera was the big beneficiary of that contretemps that we saw with Jake Burton and Jordan Ross a couple of laps ago. He's moved up into 7th position. Brady Myers continuing to lead the way by half a second.
Well, I know that Marcelo's running new hardware tonight, running a new wheel. He's actually got himself the Logitech G Pro wheel, so I know he's a big fan of it, and the consistency that he's found compared to what he used to have is, well, in his words, it's just so much better. So we expect Marcelo now to start getting more consistency. He had nothing but problems early on in this season. He's been nowhere in the championship. Again, quality driver, as are they all. So it's not just a given he's going to get in the top 20. He's going to have to work for it, and work starts today.
I don't think you can undervalue the difference that having the right hardware can make, because the feedback that it can give you as to how the car's behaving is absolutely critical. So getting the right hardware can make all the difference in terms of your on-track performance.
Absolutely, and let's face it, there's lots of different brands and lots of different wheels out there, and each person is suited to their own. And you know, it does make a significant difference. Absolutely, you've got to be comfortable. It adds your consistency, adds your speed, adds to your confidence. But you know, so long as you've got the right hardware for you, you'll be up and away.
Yeah, that's the excuse that I use for my poor performance.
You got to stop using a PlayStation controller, dude. You get yourself a wheel. I keep telling you that.
Well, I do have a wheel, but it's about 8 years old now, so it's far from what we would call the latest technology.
Well, I had a direct drive wheel which was about 8 years old, and I bought it second hand, so it's even older than that, and I swapped this week to the Logitech Pro wheel, and it's been magnificent. But anyway, we'll get on with the racing action, and it's really, really tight here. We've got Tom Freer, and amongst the whole battering of cars here, we've got Robbie Gibbs just in front of him. So, you know, this is down in P16, P17, and the car too, Robbie Gibbs, one of the stars of the qualifying series, hasn't really come through. Like, had a top 10 position, Watkins Glen, I think it was. It drove really well there, has shown little signs here and there of improvement. Just seems another one to be caught up in a lot of other people's incidents.
And that's always the danger of qualifying in the mid-pack, isn't it? It's when you're in that danger zone, that's where it can be very easy to get caught up in somebody else's drama.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, Robbie's a quality driver, we know that, as is the guy in front of him, Tom Freer, as is the guy in front of him, Jack Boyd. These are all quick drivers, and they're all stuck in a pack here. And are they just settling in? Are they just waiting? Let's just pretend you're Tom Freer right now, or Brenton Hobson at the back of this pack. What if you don't take tyres? What if you take that risk, put the car on the jacks, get the car down, you're going to gain about 8.5 seconds. There's a lot of positions in front of you, a lot of positions. I would almost be saying, look guys, just take that risk. One of you take that risk and see if the benefits, because with that many cars in between, if you take no tyres, in comparison with those who do take tyres, those guys have to pass a lot of cars to get to where you are.
So Brady Myers, he had extended a bit of a margin over James Scott at the front of the field, but the margin has come down and he's under a bit of pressure, and it's starting to concertina up the top 4 cars, absolutely nose to tail. When do you think we'll start to see pit stops, Brenton? Because we're currently on lap number 8.
So these guys at the front, all they're doing is looking behind when it comes to pit stops, because the last thing they want to do is put new rubber on and come out in a pack of cars. They're not going to flinch at the moment. They're going to be sitting, waiting, holding, and see where they come out. As it stands right now, Brady Myers, Andrew Gilliam, Jared Fieldstall come out, or Andrew Gilliam come out right now. they will be right at the tail of what is a pack that's going to be fairly slow. They don't have to obey any blue flags. There won't be any blue flags. They will get stuck. And we've got quite a few cars that have pitted for an extended time, obviously, but Brian Borg, and he's at the tail of the field. So Richard Hampstead has pitted. So that's the first of our guys to blink. Now, Hammer has only been stopped for 3.9 seconds. So already I'm thinking that Richard Hampstead has stopped. He's in P34, the car 28. He has not taken tyres with that length of stop. So let's see how he works his way up for the field. This is a classic Hampstead move. He's switched on this fella. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows how to look after his car. He knows how to look after his tyres. He's been doing this a long time. This is the type of thing where you'll find Hampstead working his way through the field. Unfortunately for him, there's a little bit of traffic ahead of him. He's in P34, but with old tyres, he doesn't have to get quite so desperate. And this is a really good battle here.
Indeed it is. So Wayne Burke.
Yeah, Matty Bowler. So
that's down in 24th and 25th position. Wayne Burke a bit further back than what we would have expected, Brenton, given his past strong form here at Belle Isle.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, whether he's got some issues with his setup that he's not happy with, whether he just hasn't had a chance to do any laps. You see a bit of concrete strike, wall strike in front there as well. But, you know, yeah, he's a quality driver, Wayne Burke. I haven't seen him around as much. Like, he's certainly doing every race in the Pro Series, which is awesome, but you haven't seen him in between there a lot doing practicing. And this battle at the front is certainly closing up. Keep your eye on Madison Down. He had the fastest lap of the last, sorry, no, he didn't have the third fastest lap going around last time. Brady Myers with the 130.9 in comparison with Madison at 131.1. But over the last few laps, Madison has certainly started to make little gaps up. But what this story tells me here in front is that he's starting to struggle with tyres. Andrew Gilliam was quite a way off. He's now being held up by this pack, by the race leader.
Yeah, well, it could be different, just very slightly different approaches to the way that people have set their cars up as well, even down to tyre pressures. If you run slightly lower tyre pressures, it might just take a bit longer for the car to come on, but will be stronger as you get deeper into the race.
No, so you can be fairly sure of one thing in this race, that all the cars would have started with minimum tyre pressure at 141. The tyres just get, oh, there's an incident back here, absolutely. That's Jack Boyd. So certainly caught up here in the field now, Jack. And there's a few cars that have made the most of that and gone past him. Jack was running quite well. Brenton Hobson, his teammate, would have a look at what happened. Really tight in here. And doesn't look like a lot in it yet, but no doubt there's a bit of pain to come. And who's that with? Is that Sean McNamara next to him? As they go in. And he's just, no, still nothing. So he's going to be a bit of a tag there, bang, straight into the wall. Tell you what, you go too wide there. That's into turn 8-9 complex. There's just no forgiveness there at all, and you see he's in the pits. That car's probably cooked because that's going to be significant damage to the front. There'll be no top end speed, but more importantly, most importantly, I'd say his steering's all over the shop.
Well, I think the most amazing thing
Jared's got a problem too.
Yeah, big damage to Jared Fieldsel's car, but I was just going to say the most amazing thing about that sequence with Jack Boyd is the number of corners that he was able to run side by side with another car. Normally here at Belle Isle, it's single file most of the way around.
Yeah, we've got Tom Freig battling as well as they come into turn 7, and he's got, is that Rehan in front of him? Yeah, it is. So Rehan's dropped down a little bit, still in a handy position in P15, but I'm actually really also interested in the damage to Jared Fieldsel's car. There certainly wasn't that damage the lap before, and I think these guys have got Robbie Gibbs in front of him. I think Robbie's struggling as well for time. There's a bit of a gap between Robbie in P14 and Dylan O'Shea in P13. There's, what, 2-second gap. So Robbie's dropping off a little bit. Absolutely he is, whether he takes tyres or not. One thing I am interested in is that Hampstead, who didn't take tyres, was 3.9 seconds. So up and down on the jacks was slower than what we probably thought. We were thinking probably 1.5 seconds up and down, pretty quick. We're talking about 4 seconds now. Tyres only take between 8.2 and 9 seconds. So it's only a 4.5 second gap now if you do or don't take tyres, and you'll make that time up on the track. So interested, very interested to see how this works for Hammer.
So the highest place of the cars that has actually taken tyres at this stage is Sebastian Flock, and his pit stop was 10.8 seconds, and he's come out, 6 seconds behind Richard Hampstead, but he'll have much fresher tyres for the back end of this race.
And not just that, if we go to Sebastian's car, as we are, he has a clear track in front of him. So this is one guy who right now is going to be able to capitalise on the best of his tyres. Same with the car 12 behind Matty Bowler. We just saw him involved in a battle before with Luke Rosello, I believe it was. These guys are going to make serious time up. Serious time up. They will have decent tyres at the end in comparison with those that don't take tyres. But how much time have they lost? How much time will it take to catch Hampstead in front? Had to pass Hampstead in front? That's a couple of questions, because Hammer's finally got through Brian Borg, I do believe. Brian's on old tyres. These guys are on the same length of tyres because Hammer didn't take tyres. But yeah, I think the two ERT cars there, I think they're going to be in a pretty position.
So Richard Hampstead, highest place of the cars that has done a stop at this stage, and more pit lane visitors. So Marcello Rivera's come in, Tom Freer now in the pits as well.
Yeah, so Cello has taken tyres, as has Tom Freer. And Hampstead, has he come out right behind Marcello, which I think he has. Yeah, so that's a big gain. Now, this is Blake Warboys. He's serving a penalty at the moment in the pits as well, and that was from qualifying. So the car 21 here, who, if anything, was probably being held up by Ethan Grigol, has made a really good strategy call here in pitting. I wouldn't be surprised if Ethan does the same next lap.
Yeah, so Marcello Rivera, basically the first of the drivers in the top 10 to come down pit lane, and he's rejoined in a pretty nice spot there as well, because he's got a bit of clear road in front of him. So now what he needs to do is push on, maximise those fresh tyres, and try and get the undercut on those drivers that he was racing against.
Yes, if I was spotting for Ethan right now, I'm saying, Box, get some new tyres on that, because we know you've got a clear track in front. We know you're going to come out in front of Richard Hampstead, who did not take tyres, and the car 7 is pitting right now.
That's where it's valuable, isn't it, to have a spotter, somebody keeping an eye on the track position of all of the different cars and working out roughly where you will rejoin the racetrack once you have taken your stop. And there's a big gaggle of cars in the pits at the moment. Dylan Rudd, Dylan O'Shea, Robert Gibbs, Rehan Linage has come in, so too Rick Kuznetsov. So I think it won't be too much longer now before the leaders start thinking about pitting, because the danger now is if you stay out too long on worn tyres, you'll start to lose positions to those drivers who are able to push on a fresh set. Yeah,
so we are halfway. Marcello's come out right behind his teammate in Ethan Grigol, and I don't think that Cello's going to get that job done quite in time. And these guys are gaining rapidly on Michael Taliangic. Tally hasn't pitted yet. He's on lap 14 of 28, so we're at the halfway stage. This will get to the stage where it might hold these two guys up. If they can't do a quick job on Michael Taliangic and some of the rest of the field in front, it's ultimately not going to work. But at the moment, it's working a treat. And these guys were quite a way off of the top 5, it has to be said. So the top 5 were, I think they're about 3.5, 4 seconds ahead of these two prior to. So the top 5 have certainly got still room to move with their pit stop and what they do. And James Scott, so we've got, is that the 2 SSR cars? Yes, it is. So James Scott and Phil Silk into the pits, as is Madison down from 5th place, Josh Anderson, Jake Burton, Job Stewart. So the cars that have stayed out, Brady Myers and Andrew Gilliam, right now they're paying the price for being in the lead. I'm expecting that there will be a lead change, but Jared's car looks like it's a mess.
Yeah, but it hasn't been affecting his pace too much, because I've been monitoring his lap times, and even though there's some panel damage, he's still been matching the pace of the leaders as he comes out just behind James Scott. So super close there between the two Synergy Sim Racing teammates on the exit of pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a position change, because James Scott was in front of Jared Filsell, sorry. But that just shows you how tight this is. We've got a move here by Madison Down, who's come out on fresh tyres, and that's an important move for Madison. Did not want to be held up by any traffic lights. Damien Johnston, who we spoke to in the grid walk before the race, and we've got the 2 ERT cars who have certainly made significant ground by that early pit stop, and we've got a lot of traffic back here as well. Is that Brian Borg. We can see Robbie Gibbs is just in front of them. Just wondering whether Borgie's just trying to... What position's Borgie at the moment? He's P20. But just the car looks lazy. He's getting pushed around here as well. So Borgie's car's obviously under a bit of duress at the moment, or Borgie himself is, because he's rapidly dropping positions here.
And our two race leaders are in, so Brady Myers and Andrew Gilliam, they didn't really have a choice. They had to respond to the others coming in to get fresh tyres. So this is a critical pit stop here, because where they rejoin relative to James Scott and Jared Filsell is basically going to determine the outcome of this race.
Yep.
You would have to say, given how difficult overtaking has been tonight.
And effectively the grid for the next race as well. Great place to be on pole position here, but you can see the SR cars are coming around turns 1 and turns 2. That job is done.
So there you go. So that's a net change of position. So the undercut has worked there for James Scott. So he moves up ahead of Brady Myers into what will be the effective race lead. Myers wants to fight back. Big move up. Breaks up the inside and contact. Can James Scott do the switch back? They'll be side by side down the next straight. Still side by side into the next right-hander. And now it's Myers who gets forced wide and into the wall. And Andrew Gilliam now up the inside of Jared Filsell, and he was looking up the inside of James Scott as well. And nose-to-tail contact as Filsell gets into the back of Gilliam, who just about manages to hold on to it. It's all become action stations here with jostling for position after the round of pit stops for our race leaders. They're going to be 3 wide here. Hold your breath.
James Scott, what are you doing? I love the fact that you're trying to win this race, but for goodness sakes, you've got a championship there to win. Andrew Gilliam's got a championship there amongst it. That was some unbelievable driving. Jared Filsell, he's just got to get in the top 20. He's not thinking championship, he's thinking of getting in there. That was incredibly close, and it goes on still.
Wow, so Jared Filsell cops another hit there from Brady Myers. Well, James Scott, he's taken full advantage of this dice to disappear down the road. He's now got an advantage of over a second from Andrew Gilliam.
Yeah, like that was look, that was almost TTR versus SSR there, but Brady Myers knows the situation. He's in P5 overall in the championship. He wants to cash in on this. You see a car stopped on the right-hand side there. Not sure if that's going to be instigating a safety car at all.
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, it could be, couldn't it?
Yeah, I'll have a look at that. So that's Robbie Gibbs' car. Obviously, Robbie's had a major incident as well that we don't know about. And, yeah, he's just stuck there on the side of the track. Haven't heard any calls for a safety car at all, but that car is not in a great position on the entry to turn 2.
So here's a replay to explain what might have happened. He's already got a problem, so I wonder if it's an engine failure there for Robbie Gibbs.
Well, it's just such an unusual place to stop, isn't it? Because he's already... That's a really unusual place to stop. Could have gone further right there, Robbie, but I haven't heard him call for a safety car at all. And I know that Brady Myers is on the radio asking about an incident that's just before. I would imagine that's the incident we did catch up on. And our race leader at the moment, Wayne Burke, hasn't pitted yet. He's going to go deep here. He might not take tyres. I'll be interested to see if this works. And also we've got the car 1. We do have the Jared Filsell car. He's down on pace. His car's beaten up a little bit and he's causing his own little train. In the meantime, James Scott, Andrew Gilliam are driving down the road.
So here's a replay of the incident that happened. So this was just after Brady Myers came out of the pits. So he tried to send it down the inside of James Scott on cold tyres, but couldn't get it stopped, whacked the wall, and then the resultant dicing that we saw between
was there contact there? Was there contact? At first I didn't think it was contact there. I'm thinking racing incident. I look at that replay though, and I do see a little bit of contact. So that's one for the stewards, absolutely. And so Brady's down in P10 at the moment and falling further
backwards. So something's happening with Brady Myers.
Look, it has to be steering, or it has to be something that's caused that, because, like you said, he's in free fall at the moment. This is a guy that was on our pole position. He's in free fall. That car's in all sorts of trouble.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's had another incident. We already saw that he made contact with the wall earlier on.
There
it is. So that's in the same spot before where we saw that he waxed the wall when he was engaged in that duel with James Scott. But I don't know that you can really penalise anyone because, yeah, I reckon there was contact between him and James Scott, but he was the one going for the lunge down the inside, and I don't think there was a lot that James Scott could have done to avoid that contact there. I think it was just an unfortunate case of them racing hard for position.
At the moment, from what I've seen, I totally agree with you. I at the moment, or we don't at the moment, get the benefit of having a look at every single angle from every single millimetre. There might have been something in it, and that's why we've got the stewards. The protest has been put in. It's just like I say, it's about like a cricket appeal. You make an appeal to the umpire that gives you out or he doesn't give you out. Either way, we're going to get a decision about it, and we'll see what happens and what kind of implications it has for either James Scott or for either Brady Mize, and what their championship does. As it stands right now, to me, it looks like a racing incident. Collateral damage later on with Brady going into the wall. There might be some steering damage that he's found out about way too late, put himself into a wall. But also, right now, the battle was with car 1 and car 77. This is where we need to be looking, because you've got Ethan Grigol, who's come right up on the trio. Jared's damaged, we know. So we've got the car 1 and the car 77, both are legends of Australian sim racing. Jared's probably the most winningest, I'd say he's the most winningest driver in supercars in Australian sim. Madison could be argued as the most successful driver in Australian sim because he's won championships, won multiple championships. These two quality drivers, doesn't matter how you look at it, one's the GOAT, one's not the GOAT, don't care. Make your own decisions as to who you think's the GOAT, but you've got two drivers, one's got a broken wing, as in he's under impairment, and he's going to be continually attacked by Madison Down. And then you've got Ethan Grigol battling for the championship, P5, P4 in the championship, sorry. He's going to want to get past these two because we know on lap 19 that this also sets the grid for the next race.
Exactly right. And while this is happening, our two race leaders are now almost 5 seconds up the road, but they're only separated by 0.3 of a second. So Andrew Gilliam all over the back of James Scott. And Andrew Gilliam yet to score a race win in the Logitech G Pro E-Series this year, but this you would have to say is probably his best chance so far.
Oh, absolutely. And let's just pretend we're on James Scott's car, and let's pretend that the stewards are going to give James Scott a penalty. I don't think they will, but let's pretend they do. If they give him a 5-second penalty, he still comes out in P2. He'll only lose one spot. So do stewards take that into account? Probably not. Don't know. It's up to them. He might not get a penalty at all. Does he get a 10-second penalty? If he does, that's a significant drop. At the moment, I don't think Scotty's got too much to worry about. I'm not the steward of the day. We've got Josh Anderson also. I said that Ando is a quality driver around here, and right now he's proving it. He's got the newest tyres in the field, and he's right on the back of Marcelo Rivera.
Can I just say as well that this is not an easy track to overtake on. We've already covered that off, but Dylan Rudd is up 7 positions from 15th on the grid up into 8th. That's been a really good, solid drive for him so far.
Yeah, it really has, and he's done a good job. His pit stop was very quick, but he did take tyres. His pit stop was 9 seconds. Ando in front 10.1 and Jake Burt behind at 10.8. So, whilst the 9.5 cars are struggling on track, their pit crew is absolutely switched on because that's a cracker of a stop.
Brenton Hobson involved in a battle. This is a bit further back in the pack. Him and Wayne Burke battling it out. Positions 19 and 20.
Yeah, the three teammates here, despite, don't worry about their liveries, but there's the three teammates here. No team orders at SSR, certainly not down mid-pack at the moment. Hobbo's, where did he pit? He pitted 10 laps ago. Berkey's only just taken his pit stop, so Berkey's out of there. He's going to check out. There's no worries about that. Whereas Rosello, Luke behind him, has got 3 lap younger tyres than Hobbo. So probably would expect Luke at some stage to make a move, or Hobbo just to wave him on by.
This is a good dice at the moment between Marcello Rivera and Josh Anderson. So Rivera, who took that slightly earlier pit stop under some pressure from Anderson at the moment. Only 2 laps difference in their tyres, but Anderson seems to have a bit of a pace advantage at the moment.
And these are two guys who need a result. So you'd almost, if you're on the radio to each other, you'd almost say, and they're not, but you'd almost say, just hang in here. P6 and P7, by the end of this race, you'll 6 or 7. You'll absolutely take that. 6 or 7 from the grid for race 2, and that gives you a chance. Walk away with 2 good results tonight. You keep your series chances alive to get in the top 20, and that's what these 2 guys need to do. The last lap is almost identical with these 2. Like Marcelo did a 1:30.968, and yeah, Ando being right behind him, obviously he's only 1/100th slower. Up at the front though, the lap times are significantly different. So James Scott was 1:30.7 with Gilliam less than half a tenth behind, but Jared Filsell cannot get out of the 1:31. So obviously with that car so badly damaged, he's just hemorrhaging time. But by saying that, he's actually looking a lot more comfortable than what he was 2 or 3 laps ago, and we do see that there's a drive-through penalty for Dylan O'Shea.
Yeah, that's for contact with Richard Hampstead. That hurts Dylan O'Shea, who currently sits in 11th. He's inside the top 10 in the championship coming into this round. There's on the bottom right-hand side of your screen a comparison of the different pit strategies, and most of the drivers within the laid pack pitted within 3 laps of each other. Marcello Rivera was the earliest to stop on lap 12. As we have a look at, this is the incident with Dylan O'Shea and Richard Hampstead a bit earlier on, for which O'Shea has been penalised. Big contact in a very fast part of the track, and that has put Hampstead hard into the wall, and he's been collected as well.
So there's a couple of things we've learned there. We now know what happened to Robbie Gibbs, because he was at the back of that, and Hammer's just been driven off the track. So the penalty for the O'Shea car is not a drive-through, it is a stop and go. So the stewards there have gone, that's as bad as it gets, and just looking at that, you could probably see why. But then if we look behind in the Hampstead car, you'll see 2 cars. I've got a feeling it's Tom Freer and Robbie Gibbs, and they've just got nowhere to go. And that's the end of their race. That's in no ways Hammer's fault. He's a passenger, and now so are the other 2.
That's a very high-speed accident, and because they're so committed through that part of the racetrack, there's not anything that they could have done to avoid that one.
No, absolutely not. And you can see the cars reacting behind this brake lights as far as the eye can see. It looks like a Christmas tree. But that is really, really unlucky. Yeah, look, certainly no intention there by the 9-5 car, but you can certainly call it clumsy. And that's exactly what the stewards have done. They've given him a stop-and-go penalty.
Yep, and ultimately that's because the consequences were that it was multiple cars, races got ruined as a result of that, so I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it's the type of thing that affects your result in the top 20, and that's what some of these drivers are thinking. They're not thinking championship, they're thinking we want to come and play again next year, and the safest way to do it, the automatic way to get in, instead of going through the qualifying series, which is eternally tough, you can be sure, is to just get straight through the top 20. And this battle continues on with Marcelo and Josh Anderson as we're now coming on to lap 24.
Yeah, it's been a good battle so far between these two. It's really at this late stage of the race, it's all about just not making any mistakes, provided you can keep it mistake-free. And that's how you avoid opening up and overtaking opportunities. So even Jared Filsell, yes, he's got a damaged car, but at the moment, he's putting the car in exactly the position that he needs to make sure that Madison Down and Ethan Grigault don't have a chance of overtaking. The contest for the lead continues as well between James Scott and Andrew Gilliam. Gilliam as close as he's been to the back of James Scott for a couple of laps. So James Scott cannot afford to make any mistakes or Gilliam will be through. What I will say, though, is that as things stand at the moment, James Scott is in a good position. Here we go, up the inside. Can Gilliam get the move done? Yes, he can. And in the end, James Scott didn't fight that one too hard.
So that's smart thinking by James Scott. Championship, he's first and second, it's only 4 points difference in the points count, so that's fine. But right now, what I'm excited about is that with just the 4 laps to go, for the first time, we could have a different winner, a different team winning a race. And Andrew Gilliam has been thereabouts, not just for this season, but for last season as well. And right now, he is certainly threatening and favourite to win this race.
Yeah, so his car was a little bit slower at the start of the race, but since the pit stops, it's come alive. And now that he's through to the race lead, let's see if he can put his head down and start to open up the margin over James Scott. Battles right throughout the pack everywhere you look. This is Blake Warboys checking it out with Luke Mitchison, I think, at the moment.
So
Hayden Belle, sorry.
Hayden Belle. So don't be fooled by Blake's position down there in P26. He had to carry a penalty through to this race. I think it was a 10-second penalty. So his pit stop was significantly longer than the rest. So he's dropped significant time. He was up to about P11 or 12 on the grid at first, from what I understand, but a long pit stop. Actually, considering he was only carrying a 10-second pit stop, a penalty, he was stationary for 34 seconds. So something else has obviously happened there.
Indeed, that's a bit of a curious one. So now that Gilliam has passed, he seems to have a bit of a pace advantage over
Looks
James
comfortable.
Scott. Yeah.
Looks really comfortable. The car's not bent. There's nothing wrong with the car at all. This is, I said, Andrew's a quality driver. I'm actually really rapt that this result is in the making of happening. And James Scott driving with his head. And well, he doesn't need to be bent up into a wall. Haven't heard anything back. Oh, we have heard something back. So the car 088 has got a 5-second penalty, which effectively, considering he's 5.5 seconds ahead of a teammate who's just going to back off a little bit, is no penalty at all for James Scott.
So there you go. So possibly he's heard that he's got that penalty, so he's decided, well, why do I need to fight for the lead of the race? Because he knows that probably better off following Andrew Gilliam across the line in second position, and because of the advantage that they've got back to the cars behind, he should retain that second place.
And there's absolutely no threat from Jared at all of pushing hard to get within that 5 seconds. He's probably doesn't got the ability. He hasn't got the car under him. It's too bent up. So right now, the TTR team might ask questions at the end of it. That's up to them. Is the incident worth a 5-second penalty? Is it worth 10? Is it worth nothing? Maybe 5 seconds is the right call, but he's been given a penalty that doesn't result in a penalty on the track.
Yeah, it's an interesting call. I'm still interested that they've penalised James Scott for that one in the first instance, because if anything, I thought that Brady Myers was the one who was down the inside. The only thing that I can think of is that they've claimed that he didn't give him enough room. As we've got another battle between the two TTR teammates, Jake Burhan and Brady Myers, battling it out. Do you
want to be doing this, boys? Do you really want to be doing this? You're both in a great position in the championship, fighting it out here. We've only got a couple of laps to go. These guys are battling pretty hard. Looks like Brady's got that job down. Jake, again this week, lacking on overall pace. Like, pretty critical of me to say he's in the top 10, but certainly not where he would be happy with.
Agreed. He hasn't had the explosive speed that we've seen from him in some of the other rounds so far this year. So, yeah, a bit of head scratching and a bit of soul searching for him to do before we get to the Enduros.
Yeah, we also see up ahead that Josh Anderson has been able to pass Marcelo Rivera. The car 36 has got past the 21. So there's a change of positions there. Both of them would be quite happy, and actually you can see that Anto's actually checked out. I did say at the start that he's a good driver around here, and right now he's proven me right. And he's done a cracking job, moved up quite a few positions as well. And Adam Briggs as well. I think Adam's done a good job. Underrated, has got a good team behind him for sure. And right now he's all over the back of Rick Kutsinov.
Yeah, both of these drivers have made some good progress through the field. They've gained 6 and 7 positions respectively from where they started. Wayne Burke, though, he's been a really big charger, up 11 spots since the start of this race.
Yeah, well, again, knowing his history here, there's no surprises at all. And yeah, good strategy too, and I would expect him to make maybe another position. He's certainly got the newest tyres out of these two as well. So Rehan's tyres are 5 laps older. So Burke is just going to be able to push, pressure. We're going to be coming down to the last lap.
Yep, so white flag waving this time around. So the final lap has commenced, and it's Andrew Gilliam who has a margin of almost a second over James Scott as they commence the 28th and final lap of this race. It's the opening leg for round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro E-Series at Belle Isle. There are your 2 race leaders, Andrew Gilliam.
Oh. So Madison absolutely stuck his nose inside of Jared there at turn 3. Had a real good look. Jared was very late on the brakes, ended up being able to hold onto that position, but Madison showing a little bit of eagerness to get through on this last lap.
He sure is. The pressure's on Jared Filsell. cannot afford to make the tiniest mistake. Not sure that Madison Down's going to be quite close enough as they get into the braking zone at the end of the back straight. He'll have the advantage of the slipstream. He fainted to the inside, but not quite able to get the overlap that he would have needed to make the passing manoeuvre stick there.
Yeah, as we come to the finish line for our leaders, Andrew Gilliam, congratulations. It's a superb drive, a superb night for their team. Really wrapped for him. Andrew Gilliam rounds the last corner. I'll let you call it.
Great performance, Andrew Gilliam. So adding to our list of race winners that we've had so far for season 2023, it's Andrew Gilliam who takes out race number 1, round 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series of Belle Isle. 9/10 per second the margin back to James Scott, who will hold on to second position despite that penalty. Jared Filsell coming home in third, back to Madison Down, Ethan Grigault, Josh Anderson, Marcello Rivera, and then Dylan Rudd, Brady Myers, and Jake Burton rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, some good performances there, wasn't there? There really was, and really looking forward later on with race number 2, not too far away. Looking forward to, as they grid up, to seeing how they form up and seeing what kind of what's the word I'm looking for? The attitude of the 2 SSR cars, knowing that they're behind Andrew, and yeah, whether they want to push for the lead, whether they want to try, because Andrew was fairly lackluster in the early stages, obviously just using his experience and working his tyres in, but serious congratulations to this guy, quality driver, quality guy, and really, really stoked for him.
Yeah, great to see. 6th in the championship coming into this round, Andrew Gilliam, and he was 101 points behind our leader, James Scott, so the margin will have tightened up, but the second position for James Scott, that's more valuable points in the bank for him as we see some celebratory burnouts for our race winner, Andrew Gilliam. And a 15-second penalty being handed to Blake Warboys for contact with Luke Mitchison. Confirmation of your race results there. Andrew Gilliam, your winner ahead of James Scott. Then it was Jared Filsell, Madison Down, Ethan Grigault, Josh Anderson, Marcello Rivera, Dylan Rudd, Brady Myers, and Jake Burton rounding out the top 10. Jordan Ross falling back to 11th position there in the final analysis ahead of Rick Kuznetsov, Adam Briggs, Wayne Burke, Rehan Leonage, Sebastian Flock, Matthew Bowler, and then Brenton Hobson completing your top 18.
Let's make the most of this while we've got a bit of time. There's 10 minutes, or sorry, 5 minutes for the next race. We're going to get Andrew Gilliam in here. Well, why not talk to the race winner? That was a fantastic performance, Andrew. Congratulations. Looked a bit lackluster at the start, I was saying. You held back, you were looking after your tyres, I think. Mate, you tell us about your race.
Oh my God, I can't believe I finally broke through. Oh, feels so good after a year and a half of trying this series. Finally got one. Oh my God, I was actually getting a bit emotional on the last couple of laps. I was like, come on, keep yourself together. It means a lot. We've been pushing so hard this last year, the team. Everyone's really stepping up. I'm so proud of what we've achieved.
Mate, it was a serious good drive, mature drive. You didn't even need to wash the car at the end of it. There's not a bug on it. There's not a scrape on it. It was fantastically preserved throughout. But what was your strategy there? Were you just sitting back in the first few laps, or you just didn't have the initial race pace? What was your strategy there?
Yeah, she was a little bit more understeery than I wanted on the full fuel, but the track and the car came to me as the fuel burnt off for sure there. But I was playing a little bit safe. It was a little bit stressful with Filsell breathing down my neck for those first 10 laps. But I saw one lap he got a bit of right front damage, I think, and then the pressure was off. So yeah, just probably driving at 98% for that first stint, just trying to make sure I set myself up for the run home.
Well, it's a fantastic event. We're not going to hold you too long. You've got to focus on race 2, starting from pole position. Congratulations on the first one, mate. Still a bit of work to do, but we'll get yourself down to your Discord channel, mate, but congratulations.
Thank you so much, guys.
Good luck to you in race 2. That's Andrew Gilliam. And I wasn't going to let that opportunity slip by, because he has worked his guts out for so long to get himself in that position and to finally break through it and have a win here in the Pro Series. It means a lot to him, he said that, but to that team works its guts out as well, and I'm really stoked for all of them, not just him, but also for his team.
Yeah, it's a feel-good story, isn't it? And the reward for Andrew Gilliam now is that he gets to start on pole position for race number 2, but you can bet that it's not going to be easy for him to go back-to-back, because you've got some quality drivers lining up right behind him on the grid. James Scott, who extended his championship lead after that race. He'll start out of grid position number 2. And then we know that both Jared Fuel-Cell and Madison Down are very quick as well. Jared Fuel-Cell, his car will be freshly repaired after that race, so we know that he'll be quick. And then you've got people like Brady Myers, who we know has had good pace tonight, and he'll be highly motivated to fight back after that incident in race 1.
So we didn't really get to see how Richard Hampstead went with his strategy of no tyres. Obviously caught up in an incident with I think it was Dylan Rudd, so that's a shame we didn't get to see that. But the grid is looking really strong. The SSR team have fixed up Jared's car completely in between races. World record time. Congratulations to them getting that car on the grid. But there was some really mature drives there as well. Ethan Gringold didn't push at all, just got himself to the finish. Josh Anderson made himself positions. Marcelo Rivera all did a really good job. Interested to see how our race 1 pole position man Brady Myers is going to go in race 2 from 9th position.
There's some fast cars coming from a bit further back as well, so the likes of Kurt Stenberg, Richard Hampstead, Jake Maloney, who all got caught up in accidents in race number 1, starting down towards the tail end of the field. Yeah,
there is, and now we can start to attack. We've got 1 minute to go. Now we can start to attack because we know where we are on the grid for race 2. But look, as close as the action was in race 1, there's more to go in race 2, and it will explode.
It will. The gloves will come off in this one. And it's the same thing again, 28 laps and a compulsory pit stop to be taken by each driver in the field. We saw that it was just after the pit stops had taken place for our race leaders that the real elbows out driving started in the previous race. So, it's set for another 28 laps around Belle Isle, and it's Andrew Gilliam who will start on pole position. The championship leader, James Scott, lining up alongside him on the front row as we come under starters orders here at Belle Isle. Who will get the jump? We saw that it was the pole sitter James Scott who was quick off the line in the previous race. Can Andrew Gilliam convert first on the grid to first lap lead? Let's see what happens here. This is race number 2, round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series, coming to you live tonight from the Belle Isle circuit. The green flag waves. Beautiful start from Andrew Gilliam off pole position. He'll sweep around the front of James Scott to take the lead into turn number 1. Jared Fuel-Cell moves up into position number 3, but we've still got some jostling for position at
big incident behind. Big incident behind. His car's everywhere. It has exploded like we thought it would.
My goodness gracious me. One of the Trans-Tasman cars, I think it might have been... Oh, can't pick up which one it is. That's just absolute pandemonium in the background there.
So
gracious me.
The highest car on the grid that we're missing, and it's still going off at the moment, is Marcelo Rivera. So the car 21's obviously been involved in an incident. There is a hell of a lot of cars damaged.
Jake Burton it was. That was the Trans-Tasman car that was involved there. So Jake Burton's got massive damage. And it just goes to show, doesn't it, how valuable those high grid positions are, because our race leaders have got away scot-free.
Yeah, and without damage. There's a whole world of invoices behind. There's a lot of broken cars behind. And there's a lot of cars calling for a tow. I'm just having a look to see how this started. And it would appear that there's an incident between the 21 and the 22 that will need to be looked at.
So the safety car is out. No surprise whatsoever. The Logitech G Aston Martin safety car out on the racetrack. As it had to be, obviously, with that number of damaged cars stuck on the racetrack.
Yeah, that was a complete mess. And we can see here on the exit of 2, this is where the bumps come in. Has Brady turned in and not used the most of the track on the right-hand side? Has Cello hit the bumps and just been drifting out to the right? But as you can see, that's the definition of complete carnage right there. And there's a lot of broken cars in that. Some of them actually made it through. Like Brady Myers has been able to continue. Certainly has some damage to his car, but look at the slow-mo replay here. At the back there, yeah, look, that's going to be hard to judge from that angle. But as you can see, there's a world of carnage.
So both Brady Myers and Jake Burton were involved in that one, and it was Jake Burton who copped the ricochet, wasn't it?
Yes, this is the start of the incident. Cello's driving over to the right at the same time. Brady, probably not acknowledging that there's more room on the right-hand side. Oh, look, you'd be hard-pressed to... Look, there's going to be a car at fault, I would think. And it could be Marcelo's car. But lap 1, turn 2, racing incident after the start, I'll let the stewards decide that. But look at that. There is a lot of damage there, and there's a lot of people hitting the showers early tonight.
Dylan Rudd was the next car behind, and he had absolutely nowhere to go. So... Yeah.
So we look at the quality of drivers who are now in the pits and probably kaput. Marcelo Rivera, Jordan Ross, Wayne Burke, Brenton Hobson, Luke Rosella. Cooked, done, over. Yeah, and Jake Maloney maybe as well, or he might have just had to stop to fix up some damage. But that's the difference. Like, let's do a what if. What if Marcelo wasn't passed by Josh Anderson late that last race? He would have moved up a grid position. You know what I mean? Like every action has a reaction, and unfortunately in this case, there's a lot of damage here by a lot of good quality drivers, including some that are right at the very top in championship contention.
Yeah, well, definitely in terms of the championship situation, the big casualties are the likes of Dylan Rudd, who was in the top 10 coming into this round, and also we can see that Brady Myers and Jake Burton have both sustained damage out of that one as well. Now, the interesting thing here is that the compulsory pit stop window was open. The safety car is out. A heap of cars are going to get their pit stop out of the way now and run the rest of this race. So different strategies playing out here.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, they've done the right thing. Well, why wouldn't you make the most of that? So, you know, the danger there is, though, and let's have a look at the car. So everyone from Gilliam down, I'll tell you what, it's probably not a bad time. If you're going to take a pit stop, don't take tyres. And you can see there's a couple of real smart cookies out here. Rick Kutsinov is now the leading car on the field who has pitted. So Rick Kutsinov did not take tyres, and I think that's a fantastic idea because the guys that have taken tyres, their tyres are only 2 laps old. So Rick has taken, well, effectively at the moment, it's the race lead. Jake Maloney, who was P absolutely last from the finishes, well, actually, I think he had a disconnect in race 1. He's effectively the second of the stoppers. So the top 14 cars have not stopped. Of those top 14, we believe that Jake Burton might be carrying some damage. Brady Myers, we know, is carrying some damage. Really interested. You've got the most experienced driver out there. Madison Down is in the lead of the race. Did not pit. Did he not pit because it was a mistake? Not sure. He would have seen Andrew Gilliam come into the pits. He would have seen the 2 SSR cars come into the pits. So he's made this call off of strategy. I'm not so sure. We're talking in pit lane. Like if you take 10 seconds, so if you take tyres, you're in pit lane for about 33 seconds. These guys aren't going to be driving 33 seconds up the road. Brady Myers has got some significant damage there. He might be the cork in the bottle to hold this field up.
So what the drivers who haven't pitted will be hoping is that 26 or 28 laps will be too far to go on a set of tyres, and that their combination of track position now and then fresher tyres later on will be enough for them to overcome the disadvantage of not doing their pit stop under the safety car. So effectively the race is now split into 2 distinct groups based on strategy.
I don't like it. I don't like what the top 14 have done. It's not my call. I don't know what they're up to. But right now, each one of these top 14 are praying that there is no other safety car. They need the rest of the race to gain advantage. Another safety car here, lights out for them.
Yeah, the only downside of the decision to come in under that safety car is the likes of Gilliam, Scott and Phil Sell are now buried in the cut and thrust of the mid-pack, the danger zone, as I like to describe it. So they're probably a bit more susceptible to being caught up in incidents. They have to hope that we don't have any more pile-ups like what we saw at the start.
Well, the other thing is they've got to get past Rick Kutsinov. They've got to get past Jake Maloney. They have to get past Dylan O'Shea. There's not going to be blue flags telling them to get out of the way. Really going to be interested. We need to keep our eyes on the lap time of the car 77 and the car 7, and we need to keep our eyes on the lap time of the car 888, Rick Kutsinov time. because at the moment, with the field, there's only there's already 5.5 seconds between Madison Down and Rick Kutsonoff in 15. In 14. That's going to keep extending.
This is the danger that I talk about, though. So we've got cars jostling for position. If you're in the mid-pack, you're getting caught up in that. That's where you can very easily lose bolt time to the cars that are out in front and that have got clear track.
And we see that Rick's carrying some damage as well. Now, the cars in front of Rick are on old tyres. Rick is on old tyres. When we say old tyres, we're on lap 4. 2 of those are behind the safety car. Rick's tyres aren't dead by any means. His tyres will still be fairly good. It's his car that's not real crash off. And this is where we need to be with Jared. Jared is going to have to drive uber extensive, aggressive to get through. Because at the moment, we were talking not long ago, the gap between first and 14 was 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds. It's now 7.5 seconds.
And we've seen this year, haven't we, that when you put Jared Filsell back in traffic, that's where he can be a bit prone to getting involved in incidents. So, you know, yes, he has to make up spots, but he also has to do it cleanly and without sustaining any damage.
And so from the race to, okay, now everything's just changed. Everything has just changed because the race director has just put over that the compulsory pit window has now opened. So there's going to be a world of questions after this from all of those who have pitted to go, well, hang on, was the pit window not open? Answer, no, it wasn't. So that has changed everything.
But how all of the drivers who pitted, how did they get it so wrong then? Because surely it's in the regs that the pit window opens on a certain lap. I cannot believe that.
Well, the next question is, have the drivers read the regs? It would appear, but at this stage, no. There it is.
And both...
You called it.
...of the Synergy sim racing cars have been involved in that.
No, it's a TTR car. It's Jake Burton again.
Yeah.
So that's Jared Filsell and Jake Burton again. And I would imagine that, you know, not a lot of love lost between these two. Let's have a look at it. Is that James Scott squeezing, or getting squeezed, trying to make a move as well at the same time? Certainly nothing intentional there. Oh, Jared has straightened it up. Yeah, again, I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to say that's a bit messy, boys. Really, really glad tonight I'm not a steward, but there's an innocent party in that one of the 9.5 cars. The car 19 of Dylan O'Shea has been absolutely mortified, smacked in that one.
Shane, there's been some carnage tonight.
Yeah.
Cars getting torn up in accidents.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a small incident at Belle, isn't there? Like, carbon fibre is not going to win over concrete walls at any day, and that we saw what happened there. And so Jared's just okay. So Jared's that's a racing incident. It's a mistake. Absolutely, it is. But he's come off a wall and just bounced completely innocent in that regard. He's just bounced back in front of the field, in front of Dylan O'Shea. What was before that might certainly get looked at, but the after effect there. Yeah, Jared's just nudged a wall. He's not going to be the first, not going to be the last to do that here.
So Jake Burton's back in the pits having the damage addressed on that car at the moment. So, yeah, basically, based on the message that's just come through from the race director and the fact that the compulsory pit stop window was not open, Madison Down Gold, they're now in the box seat, aren't they? You know what this means with positions as they are at the moment. Madison Down is probably going to come away with the championship lead if things stay as they are at the moment.
Jake Burton has also put over that he has a belief that that was intentional wrecking by Jared. We're not going to get involved with that. We'll let the stewards decide that. But Jake's just put that over at the moment, that he's raised a protest, as is his right. And he's saying there's a belief it's deliberate. I'm not sure that's... Yeah, I'll let the stewards decide that. There's got to be reason to race, and yeah. Look, Jared's certainly gone straight a little bit. Whether you think it's deliberate, I think that's, I'll let the stewards decide. but a bad night for Jake, unfortunately. No matter what's happened, it's been a really, really bad night for Jake, and it's pretty much pulverised his championship.
Yeah, it's going to be well back now.
Yeah, like he's now relying on 2 really strong results at the endurance, which we know he's exceptionally good at Sandown and even better at Bathurst. So it's not like the series is over for him, but there's now he's got a lot of work to do now.
But I have to say that if the Synergy Sim Racing guys have come in under that safety car, then that's the second time this year where they've made some weird strategic decisions that have cost them results.
But it's not just them. It's not just them. Every other team's done it as well, except for those top 12 cars. So every team's done it. It's not just SSR. ERT guys have come in, WPS, the cars come in. Wayne Burke's obviously been affected. He's out the race as well. Just watching him disconnect. But every team has done it. It's just a matter of which drivers within that team has done it.
So this is a battle for position at the moment. So Andrew Gilliam, who was our winner earlier on, but now down in position number 15, trying to round up Jake Maloney, and just having a look at the regs. So here we go. Here it is in black and white. Should the safety car be deployed prior to the leader commencing lap 2 on the racetrack, which it was, and the safety car period continues after the commencement of lap 2, which it did, the CPS window will not open until 1 lap after the race goes green. So, in other words, on resumption of green flag racing, the compulsory pit stop may not be served until the driver has crossed the start-finish line on track under green flag conditions at least once. So,
couple of things I think are really great here. Number 1, the stewards have nailed this decision. They've got that right.
Yeah.
Number 2, our producer Luke has been able to put that on our broadcast. I'm actually really impressed with that. Great job, Mr. Producer.
Number 3, half the field clearly haven't read the regs.
And it's burnt them badly, and the person that we were thinking has done an outstanding job, Rick Kutsanov, well, the reason he's came out in the lead, he exited the closed pits, so he's got a drive-through penalty. So Rick's going to be... Tell you what, we said this race was going to explode. It doesn't need to explode any more than what it's already done, because the positions have just been absolutely shuffled, amazingly so. Richard Hampstead, who we know was P nowhere in race 1, he did not pit. He's up to P8. Luke Mitchison's in an all-time position high P9. Damien Johnson, who I'm a big fan of, we know, P10. There's no reason why they won't stay in these positions, because they all have a pit stop to go. The other guys, and the other thing is, if you're one of those early ones who did pit, do you take tyres or do you just shorten? You might as well take tyres. This is an unbelievable good performance by the top guys who did not pit in knowing what the rules are.
So, James Scott, this is where your composure gets tested if you're James at the moment. So he's back in 16th position. He is currently the points leader. Absolutely, he needs to not get annoyed by that strategic miscue and now just focus on making up as many spots as he can to salvage as many points as he can out of this race, because Madison Down, who was second in the championship coming into this round, is now the race leader and on target to take the championship lead with positions as they are at the moment.
And we know there's not a lot of love lost between these two teams at the moment. They're diving into the pits. It's a good move by Scotty. Good move. Yeah. He acknowledged that, yes, there's a mistake with the first pit stop. He sucked it up. He's just gone, it is what it is. Let's play on. He's got his head back in the game, absolutely trying to get back the maximum that he can gain. There's going to be other cars that have to pit. He's just taking tyres early. He's going to come out and clear traffic, we hope, we think. It's a good effort. It's a good performance by James Scott. He's acknowledged the mistake and he's getting on with it.
So looking a bit further down the order, Sean McNamara, Kurt Stenberg, Rick Kuznetsov. Kuznetsov, of course, with that drive-through penalty to serve for disobeying the closed pit exit. That's a big no-no to exit the closed pit lane onto the racetrack.
I'm going to be really... I put my admin hat on here, and Jordan Ross and myself do a lot of admin. So does Hobbo and John Van Rieck. But the four of us, we don't get involved with protests. We don't get involved with
drivers, in essence, questioning stewards' decisions. We've seen that this is in black and white. I congratulate the stewards for being on the front foot, not having to fold when so many drivers have pitted. There's going to be a lot of controversy here. I can already see my messages are going to be lighting up, as will Jordan Ross's, no doubt. We're just going to refer them to the rules. That's all you can do. They've got a problem, go to the stewards, but I actually think that this is going to be one of the bigger moments of the series.
Yeah, that'll be controversial. No doubt there'll be plenty of discussions after this race, that's for sure. But
and we're lucky enough that we actually have one of the series admins, Jordan Ross, with us. Jordan was involved obviously early on that lap 1 incident. It was just absolute carnage, and the 143's parked it for the night. Jordan, welcome to the broadcast, mate. What you've missed early and what you've missed later on, tell us a bit about what your thoughts on the race are.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, disappointing end to a strong start to the night, but around this concrete jungle those things happen, so you just got to, there's plenty of other people that got caught up in that that crash, and we're all sitting on the sidelines now, so it's the way it goes around here.
And within Team SSR, looks like there's been a strategy call with the safety car came out with the pit stops. Was there much talk about that at all?
Yeah, they, I don't know. Yeah, we actually did know that rule, so I think they just stuffed it up. I'm not really sure, but so now James has got a big fight back, and I think Jared's crashed and his car's a bit second hand now. So, but I think Briggs is up there and he's going well, so we're all right.
So you've got Adam Briggs in P5 and Hayden, who needs the points desperately. Let's go, he's had a terribly unlucky season in P7. So there's absolutely some strong representation for SSR up there. Wait, what's your thoughts on the rest of the race? We've got the car 047 going extremely slowly as well. So this is something we need to look out for. So that's the, who's that 047? Might be just a 47 maybe, I'll have to have a look at that. But there was a car certainly going slowly out there. How do you see the rest of the race going, Jordan?
I think Madison and Ethan are probably going to battle it out for the win. They've obviously still got a stop to take, but they've got track position, so Ethan's actually looking really fast. He was way faster than me, and like I out-qualified him in race 1, but he was so much faster, so I think his car's looking good, and but Madison's Madison, and he'll put up a fight for the win.
So at the start, I picked Josh Anderson to be and Wayne Burke to be the smoky, and neither of them let me down race 1. Race 2, Burke's obviously had an issue, he's got a DNF, but I still say keep an eye out for Josh Anderson. He's moved his way through the field, he's up to P3 at the moment. Last lap time of a 1:30.8, just a little bit off the front too, but certainly significantly quicker than the rest, as we got the 990 is requesting a tow, so we just have to have a look at that. Let's see if there's going to be a safety car. If there is going to be a safety car, then you can absolutely be sure that pit lane's going to be full.
That should be interesting.
So there it is, Dylan Rudd in car number 990, and he's been in the wars so far tonight, and it looks like his car has finally cried enough. Yep, the engine has expired on that car, and that will be what has been a miserable race for Dylan Rudd, one of our top 10 championship contenders, finally coming to an end.
Yep, so safety car has been called, so just watch for an absolute flurry of activity in pit lane. We've got our leaders now as they go around into turn 7. So they'll be diving in the pits. They've got quite a decent sized lead in comparison with Josh Anderson. They've got 2.5 seconds back to Josh, 5.5 seconds back to Brady Myers. But if we look before, remember at the restart we said it was a 5.5 second gap. Would this strategy work? That gap was up to 17 seconds. So if the safety car and the pit stops, initial safety stops, were all legit, they would not have got the job done. Fact is, they've read the rules, they're going to be pitting at the right time, and they're going to make the most of this opportunity and come out exactly where they are.
I have to say that this safety car is not great news for James Scott, because he'd already done his second pit stop, and that was several laps ago now, so he's now going to have older tyres than everybody else who will pit under this safety car.
So we go, I'll have a look at the 08A. He's in P22 at the moment. Won't have to stop. Neither will Andrew Gilliam, though. Andrew Gilliam's had 2 stops as well. He only just came out of the pits. So, and I've got, is that Jake Burton up the road a little bit in front of him? And in the meantime, Madison just comes out of the pits in front of Ethan Grigol. But James Scott's not going to pit here. They will want to stay on it. And let's have a look at the positions that they gain from coming into the pits early. Jake Burton has stayed out there, I believe. Or is, no, Jake's be a lap down. He's a lap down. He's actually 5 laps down. So he's, he could be, like, there's going to be blue flags to get through, we know. And I would imagine Jake will do the right thing, but might make it slightly uncomfortable. The other guy we need to look for is Jared Filsall. So he's down in P20. So probably mine hasn't reset yet, probably, but there's you look at Jared's car. Yeah, that's pretty crook. He's had an interesting night with Walls. Not all of his own doing, to be fair, but that car's as bad as bent as it needs to be. I don't reckon it's going to take too much more, and we'll get off of that one.
So, a couple of cars in the top 10 that have elected not to take tyres during that pit stop. So, Luke Mitchinson hasn't changed tyres, and neither has Thomas Freeman. So, they both have really quick stops, and they've gained track position as a result of that. However, now they will be on older tyres compared to everybody else once the race resumes.
Absolutely they will be, but look at the gains that they've made in comparison with being stuck in mid-pack. We talked about that earlier, but you know, you've got James Scott, who's going to be on 4-lap older tyres than the cars behind, 4-lap newer tyres of Tom Freeman. Yeah, so saying that Tom Freeman pitted 8 laps ago, so did not take tyres. So this is a good chance for Tom to cool his tyres down. And Hampstead on this occasion did take tyres. He's at P9, and Luke Mitchell made a gain, short-term gain, long-term loss, perhaps, but he also could miss out on the carnage.
So this will bunch the field up nicely, and we'll get a race start with, I think it should be 14 laps remaining, so pretty much half the race to go, but it's Madison Down who finds himself in control of the field for this race start. Yeah,
Christmas has come all at once for Madison, because at the moment his main competition in the series, as it stands at the moment, P11, and Jake further down. Brady Myers not far behind, obviously, and neither's Ethan, and Andrew Gilliam's down in 12th. I'll tell you what, this is a race where Andrew must be gutted, because such a strong winning performance in race 1, and the team's made a mistake, a horrible mistake, and it's really taken away any chance of him winning. So he hasn't had that chance to have the perfect night. He still had a very good night, well done to him, but he hasn't now had the perfect night. And especially considering that his teammate, Jack Boyd, in 5th position, did exactly what the rules tell you should. So there's obviously maybe a bit of a lack of talk within the team there.
Well, there are a few drivers who are on for potentially their best race result of the season, aren't there?
Sorry, Jack Boyd's SSR. Sorry, I'm going to stand up. Sorry, Jack Boyd's SSR. Sorry, but Job Stewart's what I mean. Like, he was well laps down. Sorry.
But yeah, the likes of Jack Boyd, Adam Briggs, Hayden Veld, Luke Mitchinson, Thomas Freeman, all on for potentially their season best race results at the moment.
Wonder how Luke Mitchinson's heart rate is at the moment, because normally mid-lower pack, I think he would say that himself. He's not mid-lower pack today, he's P8. He's P8, he's just had a pit stop, has not taken tyres, and it has given him position, track position. He's got a very fast Richard Hampstead behind him, a moderately fast Thomas Freeman on older tyres. There's a chance that Luke could absolutely hold on to a top 12 spot here.
So the lights will go out on the safety car, and it will be up to our race leader, Madison Down, to control the pace of the field at this race start as they negotiate their way through the final complex of corners. When does he decide to put the foot down?
well, apex last corner.
Yep.
Normally be the safe bet. It's sort of drafting track, so you don't have to keep waiting. I would think and don't forget, within TTR, right now, Madison's talking to Josh Anderson going 3, 2, 1, go. So Ethan's the one that could get caught out here.
That is true.
So still holding him up. Going. And straight away on the defensive for Ethan Grigol. And look at the jump that Ando did have. I called it 3, 2, 1, go. That's good teamwork. They're ready to go. And Ethan, if anything, probably did get caught out by that restart. It was certainly a sudden jump away by Madison down, and he's got himself a nice little gap.
He sure has.
Jack Boyd
on Brady Myers, sends it down the inside. Nice move, gets the job done.
Quality. And another SSR car right behind. I think that's Adam Briggs is up there as well. So Adam again shows some good pace on occasion. Probably dropped off a little bit of late. Oh, we've got a car in the wall. Matty Bowler. Looks like he's done a flick spin straight back into a wall there. So, but obviously involved with an incident because he's calling it in now.
So a couple of cars to watch out for here. James Scott and Andrew Gilliam. They've worked their way back up to 10th and 11th respectively. And James Scott in particular needs to get as many spots as he can to minimise the damage that Madison Down is able to inflict on him in the championship.
So it appears that the car 1 and Warboys, the 63, were involved with the incident with the car 12 earlier. So I see that the stewards have acknowledged an incident on this lap. Haven't seen it, can't make call on it. So yeah, no doubt we'll see and or hear more shortly. It's a great restart by the 77s, taken immediate control of this race. And Jordan Ross came into our broadcast before and said that he believes that Ethan's carrying some good pace as a fast car. He does, but he's got a world of experience in a fast car in front of him on brand new tyres with 11, 12 laps to go. It's going to be hard work for Ethan for sure.
Pretty hard work for Brady Myers as well. He's still nursing damage after getting caught up in that crash on lap number 1, and he's just
keen to stay on board with the Myers car here with James Scott right behind. We know what happened earlier with the two of them. Yeah, let's see. Look, both these guys are generally clean drivers. May have now reason to question what might happen in the very near future, but hopefully they'll be both clean and they can get on with it.
So Brady Myers lost a spot there to Richard Hampstead, and now under some pressure from James Scott, who has got Andrew Gilliam right behind him. These were the two drivers that battled it out for the race win in race 1. Now they're battling over positions 9 and 10.
And Brady's car's broken, let's be honest. It's got all sorts of problems, and those that are around him are cashing in their chips and getting through him. But he's not making it real easy. Like, he let his teammate Richard Hampstead through without much resistance. But for every lap that Brady stays behind Richard Hampstead, that's a lap. Funny enough, that James Scott is not working his way up through the field. And really love what Richard Hampstead brings to the table week in, week out. He's got a bit of a damage there. Another guy, like the whole TTR team, I don't know if there's anyone there you could accuse of saying they don't have a lot of experience or a lot of speed. Quality team, quality drivers. And Luke Mitchelson is the one under attack. There we go. Now we know Luke did not take tyres. We know that Freeman's on old tyres. Oh, there's a battle inside there.
And that was a lock-up from Brady Myers, so he's made a mistake there. So James Scott gets through, and so does Andrew Gilliam.
Yeah, well, glad that job's done without too much grief. Yeah, as you said, Brady's just locked up the inside there, and just, quite an easy move there. Lost the rears as well, so quite an easy move, and has been able to take Andrew through with him as well. So that bit of an anticlimax, and quite glad it is. But Luke Mitchelson, the car 04, he is going to be the head of a train, and got Tom Freeman has got through, and is that Jake Maloney now? Yeah, Jake Maloney, and that's a great move on the inside by Sean McNamara. Has cashed in and got both of them.
So
as we've got Jake Maloney on the inside now as they enter the last turn. Third gear, they short shift to fourth gear here on the straight, and Jake is away, absolutely. So Sean did a great move. He's now got a bit of protection, a bit of buffer behind, as we see that the car 1 has a drive-through for car contact on Matty Bowler on that lap where the car 12 got involved. Now, I think Jared's got a suspended sentence hanging over his head. His next 2 races are 2 Enduros. That's going to be a question that needs to be answered this week.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, he's had some regular visits to the steward's office, shall we say, so far in season 2023, Jared Filsell, and it looks like he might be making another one after tonight.
So we've already had controversy tonight with the pit stops, and it shouldn't be controversy because a few of the guys obeyed the rules. But now, the next 2 races are the Enduros. Jared's got a suspended sentence, 2-race suspended sentence over his head. That's going to be quite difficult, I would imagine. And whether the stewards might not deem it necessary, we're going to have a look at the replay here. Yeah, well, I'll let the stewards have already made their decision. They deem the car 1's at fault with a drive-through. So that we'll move on from that. But the bigger picture is, does Jared get the opportunity to drive in the Enduros? That's the bigger question now. So, yeah, the right decision's not always the popular one, but we'll see what evolves over the week. But Jared's car, yeah, he's not having a great night, let's be honest.
No, it's been such an up and down season, hasn't it? And it always seems that there's no in-between with Jared Filsell. Either he's right up the pointy end and winning, or he's having DNFs and struggling with penalties.
Yeah. So, yeah, we move on. We've discussed that one, and, yeah, there's a lot of other drivers in the race, and at the front, things certainly seem to have settled. We see that Jared's still cutting his way through the field after his drive-through. But yeah, we'll move on and look at Luke Richardson, who's holding position. He's dropped to 15th. So no, sorry, he's dropped down quite a few, and probably quicker than what I thought he would as well. So he's going to be next one in line will be Kurt Stenberg, who looks like he's just going to drive around him as well. So Stenny's had a good recovery, because don't forget, he was involved in the very first incident of the night in race 1. So he didn't get the job done there though. Now he's left himself under attack by Tom Freer. So again, more SSR versus TTR racing here.
Just doing a bit of number crunching. So because this is
that's an off. And again, we see multiple cars involved. And again, we see the car 1 in there as well. So again, we're going to have to let the stewards do their job.
So this is classed as a sprint race, yes? So yes. 100 points for a race victory.
Yes. It's Jared's fault.
So Madison Down was 4th in race 1, yeah?
Yep.
Yep, so he got 88. James Scott got 95, so that was a 7-point swing. 22, 29.
How's your maths? Better than mine.
And James
Andrew
Scott
Gilliam won race 1, and he's in front of James Scott this race. Or are you looking at the overall championship?
I'm looking at the overall championship picture here.
Yep. Well, you raised an interesting fact at the start of before the broadcast started, is that there's been a championship lead change in 4 races or 5 races, which is amazing considering how close everything's been.
So with positions as they are at the moment, based on my very rough mental arithmetic, James Scott will still be the championship leader by 7 points over Madison Down with positions as they are at the moment.
Yeah, so it's closing. It's closing. Like, look, Andrew and Scotty might make ground, like the P8 and P9 at the moment, but certainly for James Scott with his championship, he's got to get past Andrew Gilliam now. After the pit stops, Andrew was behind James Scott, so at some stage Andrew has again passed Scotty on the track, so obviously we know that pursuit car is working amazingly well tonight, but at the same time did James just let him through because it's 2 points difference and he wants to keep his championship well and truly alive? Like I've been saying it all night, you don't have to win every battle to win the war. And tonight, James Scott has not won the battle, but he is still winning the war.
Yeah, albeit with his championship lead to potentially be diminished after this particular race.
Yeah, absolutely. But after 7 rounds, if you're 2 points ahead in the championship, leading the championship, if someone offered that to you at the start of the series, by the time round 7's finished, you'll be in the lead of the championship. You'd take that every day of the week.
Yeah, well, it's better to be further back and being the one doing the chasing. But the thing that I'm fascinated about is the Enduro driver pairings. And no doubt we'll be getting a bit more news on those in the coming weeks as we approach the Sandown 500, which comes up on the 1st of September.
So Friday night, the Sandown 500, so be sure to lock that in your calendars for that night, 500 Ks. Now, my understanding was that Brodie Kostecki was Jared Fieldstall's partner for the Enduros. There might be a need for a change there within SSR. That's up to them. But there could be some, like I said before, there could be some issues coming, which we want everyone racing. So let's just see what the stewards say.
Well, Brodie Kostecki, we know that he's a gun sim racer. He's currently the championship leader of the real life Supercars Championship. Wouldn't you put him with James Scott as your main title contender? No,
well, Jared and Brodie have got the same driving styles, and they both team up well together. They get along well together. They're friends off the track and on the track. So, there's 2 quality drivers. So I'm not here to tell SSR what to do. And at the end of the day, I'm sure that SSR have got a very good driver aside for James Scott. And that's the thing with the Enduros we've got to think about as we've got just the 5 laps remaining, so I'll just get through it quickly, is that 2 pros can't go together. So you can't pair Madison down with Josh Anderson. You can't put Jack Boyd and Brent Hobson together. You can't put Ethan Grigor and Marcelo Rivera together. You've got to go shopping externally out of the Pro Series to get yourself a co-driver. It's a system that worked outstandingly well last year, generated a lot of interest within the sim and also for drivers to try and get themselves in. And it's already, it's a strategy call right from the start. And what you're asking is a really good question. And Matty goes off again hard.
And into the tyres. And almost collects his teammate coming back onto the racetrack.
Hasn't been a great night for some, getting into the finish. And, that's a bit clumsy as well. So that's Michael Angus, who last of our qualifiers to get into this series, is having an awesome time. Not getting the results he probably thinks he would be getting, but I know he's having a great time. It's great to have the Fishy Sports car out there.
Coming back to the subject of the Enduro pairings, what's Josh Rogers doing those weekends?
No, ineligible, and same with Dane Warren. So the eligibility is that you have to be in Australia, Australian resident at the time. So unless Josh is coming back from Germany, don't know. But as it stands at the moment, from what I know, and I don't know the ins and outs of SSR or Josh Rogers. I know Josh drove for SSR a couple of years ago, I think it was. But at the moment, unless you live in Australia or you're in Australia, you're ineligible. The last thing we want is a lot of network issues and ping issues and that type of thing, net code. So that's why we stick to those in Australia and New Zealand.
There's a few real-life drivers who are pretty handy in sim racing who might be good selections. I'm thinking about people like Dylan O'Keefe.
Gary Jacobson.
Yeah, he'd be another handy signing, Yep,
absolutely. So Gary's had some good news during the week, but very good in the sim. Our DSO, Tom Randall, he's not too scrubby either, but you're right.
Not allowed to because he's
not allowed to.
DSO.
But what I'm saying is that there are some real drivers out there. Shane Van Gisbergen, anybody? There's some guys out there who love their sim racing, who drive their real cars, who would potentially be available.
Well, both Shane Van Gisbergen and Richie Stanaway are both very good sim racers. We know
absolutely.
That. So,
And who's to know that? Here we are saying who's going to be James Scott's partner. It might already be organised. It might already be SVG or Richie. It could. Who knows? But at the end of the day, I can't wait for it. It's going to be so good. looking forward to endurance. Everyone loves enduro season, and yeah, it's going to be a cracker couple of days.
Yeah, can't wait. So the first one was the Sandown 500. It comes up on the 1st of September, and then the virtual Bathurst 1000 is going to be held on the 1st of October. So it'll be the weekend before the real life Bathurst 1000.
Yeah, so NRL Grand Final day is the Bathurst 1000. Early start, so for you NRL fans out there, if you like the Cowboys or the Roosters, I think the Roosters are gone this year, Broncos.
Parramatta, which I think they're pretty much gone this year.
I think you're cooked as well.
Yep.
But so the races are going to start early. It's going to finish early. That way, if you've got your Penrith, you know, you're backing Penrith or whoever else makes the grand final, you'll still be able to catch that action for sure.
So turning our attention back to the on-track action, because we've got 3 laps to go. So at the moment, this is a battle for position between Richard Hampstead and James Scott. Now, this is of importance for both these drivers, because Richard Hampstead, he needs to try and keep James Scott behind him so that Madison Down makes the most ground in the championship that he can. Inflicts the maximum possible damage on James Scott's championship lead that he can. Got down the inside and contact.
He moved.
I reckon Hampstead moved.
Yeah, I reckon Hammer moved. Yeah, I reckon Hammer's moved there. Only a little, but certainly was there. I'd no doubt he'll probably call it in. I'll let the stewards again make the decisions. But looking at that, we've got a great view on the chopper here. He's under brakes, and that centre line kept on getting closer and closer to me.
Yeah, so the key thing there is that you're not supposed to move in the braking zone. So you might say, well, James Scott should be penalised, but no, because he had his nose down the inside and Richard Hampstead was moving across once they got to the braking zone, which is a big no-no. So
Hampstead's called it in, and that actually gets Tom Freeman, another Fisher car, into the top 10, which is fantastic. So yeah, Hammer has called that in. I don't expect a penalty there for James Scott, but by saying that, as I said before, the stewards get every millimetre of every. That's 3 wide behind him. That's crazy.
It's been a busy night for Thomas Randall, our driving standards observer.
Absolutely has, and we've got just under 2 laps to go for our leaders, and the 2 of them have just pulled away a lot from Ando, and he's pulled away from Jack Boyd. So the top 4, 5 look settled. Andrew Gilliam has just recently passed Hayden Veld, might be able to make a bit of a move on Adam Briggs to get himself in the top 5, but yeah, this race fell apart really early for all those cars that came in the pits. But Andrew Gilliam's last lap, a 1:30.4, 4/10 of a second quicker than Adam's 1:30.8. So there's certainly time left with a lap and a half to go for Andrew to make a move and work his way up to what would be a deserved top 5, and an amazing top 5 considering he was down as far as P18 after the initial kerfuffle with the safety car.
Yeah, and he is the highest placed of the drivers to have made that second pit stop. So out of all of the drivers that made what you would have to say was the incorrect decision of coming in under that safety car, he's the one who has done the best job of recovering.
Yeah, the round win as it stands at the moment would be that Madison would win the round and Ethan would come second in the round, unless Andrew makes a pass. Whoa, he's not making a pass.
What happened there?
He has cooked it.
And he did that all by himself.
And that's a hard hit. He's just pushing to make that extra position. He's just lost on the brakes, out the marbles, and that car's never coming back from there. I don't think there's any contact. I'd be surprised, really surprised, if he can hang on to that. It was a hard hit into, as the car 8 has requested a tow last lap. I would be surprised if he doesn't drop multiple positions there, but at the moment he's hanging in there.
Yeah, well, he just has to try and get that car to the line now without losing any more spots, doesn't he? I think it might have been a case of the commentator's curse there, because we were just talking about what a great job he had done to recover those lost positions after that early pit stop. But what's been a drama-filled night here at Belle Isle.
Yeah.
Madison Down, the experience, the class of this driver has risen to the top. And he's going to put himself in a very, very strong championship position heading into the endurance races with what has been an exemplary performance.
A lot of experience shown. It looks like we've got another incident reported, which is going to be looked at after the race. But at the end of the day, yeah, I'll let you call the finish.
So Madison Downs surviving all of the opening lap drama, not getting caught out with the temptation to make a wrong pit stop call earlier in the race, and he is your winner for round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series at Belle Isle, and launches himself into a very strong championship position in the process. Ethan Rigault second in the race, second overall for the round. And Josh Anderson, it's been a tough season for him so far, but comes home with one of his strongest results of the year, a 3rd place finish ahead of Jack Boyd and Adam Briggs.
Look, it's got to be said, that was a bit of a dog's breakfast today. There was a mess, and no doubt the stewards will be very interested in a lot of what happened later on. And don't be surprised if there's some penalties after the race, so just be sure to keep your eye on the social media there, because that's going to light up. So anyway, congratulations to Madison, Dan and TTR. 1st and 3rd for TTR. They just sneak under the radar. I don't know why they do sneak under the radar, because they're a quality team and they win a hell of a lot, but they don't just generally get one car on the podium, they find a way of getting 2. And Josh Anderson has got himself back into a position where he can work his way solidly in the top 20, so well done him. And congrats to Jack Boyd, series best result. 4th position, Adam Briggs, again, series best result. So a great effort by the 2 of them. And Andrew Gilliam, almost what could have been. Could have had a pair of aces by the end of the night. I don't think he'd be too upset with a 1st and a 6th, though.
No, but it could have been so much more for him, particularly after the speed that we saw out of that car in race number 1. And I think he'll be disappointed with that, what ultimately turned out to be the wrong decision to come down pit lane under safety car at the start of race number 2. But also such a shame that we saw so many front-running cars either eliminated or seriously compromised with that massive pile-up on the opening lap.
Street circuit, it's on a bumpy exit to turn 2. It's got red flags all over it, and we got through race 1 without issue, but race 2 certainly caught a lot of guys out, as you can go through the results.
So Madison down at your race winner ahead of Ethan Rigault, Josh Anderson coming home in 3rd. Jack Boyd having a really strong run in that race. So too Adam Briggs. Andrew Gilliam, nice recovery to 6th position after the pit stop problems earlier on. Hayden Belle 7th, and then James Scott damaged the limitation drive to 8th position, preserves his championship lead, albeit only just from Madison Down. And then Brady Myers 9th and Thomas Freeman rounding out your top 10 in one of his best results, if not the best result of the season.
Yeah, it's a fantastic effort for Tom Freeman, P10. I reckon he was involved in that early incident as well on that one. So, it's a great effort. And same with Jake Maloney, P11, getting himself up from P nowhere on the grid. So, there's winners and losers, and in a big incident like that, there's guys who are going to cash in their chips and make the most of it, and certainly in this occasion have. Rick Kutsanoff would have been a really interesting tale there. We know what happened to him. He made that early pit stop, but then had a drive-through penalty. He exited a closed pit. So, look, there's going to be some good tales and some bad tales, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of them shortly.
Indeed. We'll head to the podium presentation very shortly here. It's your live coverage thanks to Race Stars TV. And our drivers are starting to make their way onto the podium now. So we'll just stand by for all 3 of them to make their way in, and then we'll...
Madison's on his way. We can see him now walking his way up.
There we go. So we'll start off with our race winner tonight, and in fact our overall round winner for round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series, Madison Down. A fair bit of carnage, a fair bit of chaos tonight, but you rose above it all to come away with the overall victory and launch yourself into a very, very strong championship position. Talk us through your night.
Yeah, good win there in the the feature race there in race 2, and the pace was pretty good overall. I don't think we had outright the quickest car tonight, but thanks to all the carnage that kind of occurred in that race, and the strategy as well playing out in our favour versus some of the other cars there, just worked out really well. So really good race from where I sat. I know there was a lot that went on behind me though, so keen to have a watch back of that.
Can you believe that so many of your rivals got it so wrong with pitting under safety car before the pit window had opened?
Yeah, I probably could, to be honest. We haven't had that many safety cars in the series, and that's a bit of a unique rule to this series. And I got to say, even in TTR, we weren't fully across it. Thankfully, big call out to Richard Hampstead there, who always reads the rulebook back to front. And yeah, he really alerted us and had some spotters double check the rules during that safety car. So we were probably lucky that a few of us had done our homework, but I was surprised that as many cars got caught by that rule as what there was.
So race number 2, I mean, from our standpoint, it looks pretty straightforward because after the lap 1 pile up and then after everybody else pitting, it was pretty much a case of you just controlling the race from there. But race number 1, you had a bird's eye view of an intense battle for the lead that was going on up ahead. How was it from your standpoint?
Yeah, it was a pretty close battle there. Unfortunately, my teammate Brady there ended up in the fence, and yeah, unfortunately, kind of his night turned to crap after that. So it was in my favour though, for sure, to pick up a few spots in that race. And yeah, exciting battle, although race 2 there with Ethan Griggolt just in the mirror the entire way. At a track like this, you've just got no rest, and the thing is millimetres off the fence. I reckon I probably grazed the wall 20 times in that second stint, just, you know, and just a little bit too hard, and one of those grazes and your race is over. So yeah, although it was boring in terms of a racecraft kind of race, I'm sure from where Ethan and I sat in the driver's seat, it was pretty exciting for both of us.
So based on our rough mental arithmetic, you're now a single-digit number of points behind James Scott in the championship. We now get into the season of endurance. Do you want to give us any hints as to who your co-driver might be?
Honestly, we haven't got them finalised yet. I think the co-driver pairings for our team as a whole are probably going to be fairly similar to last year, but we haven't even internally confirmed that yet. But I wouldn't be, yeah, off what we know so far, they look to be quite similar to last year's pairings.
Spoken like a true race driver. Congratulations, Madison, on what's been a fantastic night. Finally, who would you like to thank?
Tonight, actually, I'm going to start with Brady Myers. He did a lot of work this week inside the team there, and a lot of practice to develop a quick car. And obviously, he got pole tonight and had really good race pace, but unfortunately, it didn't go his way. So yeah, he did a lot of work on the setup, and thankfully, we were able to get one win. It's just probably not the car we expected there. So bad luck, Brady, but thank you for your hard work. Thanks to everyone at Trans-Tasman Racing for the hard work they do. Emily Jones, Michael Healy, both spotted tonight. Thanks to them. Also, Virtual Racing School. So Virtual Racing School did a lot of data analysis through the week, and yeah, ended up with some fast race cars.
In second place tonight, thanks Madison and congratulations, but second place tonight for the Evolution Racing team, Ethan Griggolt, and he's standing by to have a chat to his team boss, Brenton.
No, yeah, a proud team boss too, but I got to take my ERT hat off. Ethan, P2 in race 2 tonight, P5 in race 1, gives you a second overall for the night. Really, really good call with the pit stop at the in the second race. Glad you read the rules there. Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, I'm a bit lucky. It was about a 10-minute gap before the server opened and practice started that I decided to read the rulebook quickly, and I just skimmed over it and thought, oh yeah, I was just making sure there was a compulsory pit stop. And then in that race, it just so happened the safety car came out on that lap, and I had Ian Ford spotting for me, and I said, hey, can you bring up the sup regs real quick? I'm pretty sure we're not allowed to pit. And he goes, yeah, well, we're not. And then as soon as we saw a bunch of cars dive in front of us, we thought, oh, it's on now.
Right, and a really good call. And apart from that, like the 2 races, how was the car overall, and how were you going overall? Are you happy with how the night went?
Yeah, look, I'm completely surprised with the pace we had tonight. I wasn't expecting to be anywhere near it. I only had a couple of hours practice going into it because I've been very busy outside of the sim, prepping for a race meeting this weekend. But yeah, we jumped into practice, went out, and the car was quite frankly crap. So big shout out to Ian Ford, who really helped me just dial in a quality setup during that 1 hour practice session, which managed to get the car to a really good pace. And then we just chucked fuel in and away we went, and the thing was a jet. So I'm a little bit disappointed in that last race though. We had good pace with Madison down there in the first stint, but in right after the second safety car restart, I touched the fence a little bit, and I think I towed out the left rear, which made the car really snappy. So we couldn't exactly challenge for the win, which is a little bit disappointing. But to come away with a 5th place and a 2nd place and 2nd overall for the round is just bloody awesome.
Yeah, and I was actually going to mention Ian Ford. It's great to have him back. What kind of difference has he made over the last month now that he's back with us?
Oh, just to be able to have a second set of ears to bounce setup ideas off back and forth and actually fine tune the car. We've finally found a setup direction after all these years that seems to be competitive just about everywhere. So the car's quick, I feel like I'm driving well again. So it's only onwards and upwards from here.
Good stuff, mate. Anyone you want to thank before you go?
I'll just thank all the boys at ERT for putting the work in every week, and especially Ian Ford for pretty much everything I just mentioned there. And of course, our sponsors are Logitech G. Oh, and a great team boss that had an awesome commentary tonight, I'm sure.
No, he struggled tonight. He struggled. But thank you. Mate, we'll talk to you later on. Good job.
Cheers. Thank you, boys. Bye.
And finally to Josh Anderson, one of my favourite drivers. I don't make any secret of that. I'll hand over to you, Lockie.
Yeah, Josh Anderson coming home for his best race result so far this season. Josh, it was a case of staying out of trouble paid dividends for you tonight.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Had a bit of an up and down season so far. I did get third at one of the rounds earlier this season. I can't remember what track it was, but yeah, tonight, the other rounds this season, I've not been too happy with my performance. So I just took a pretty relaxed attitude coming into tonight, just have fun, go racing and see what happens. And yeah, it was like, I was a bit disappointed with the second race because I just had no pace. I did hit the wall early on in the race, just a little mistake, and I think that gave some damage, but still, you want to be challenging when you're up the front. So I was sort of just wobbling my way back to the finish line. I was happy when the checkered flag came, sure. But yeah, it was P6 and P3 from P11 on the grid on the street track. Take that.
How lucky were you to not get caught up in the accident in race number 2? Because I think you must have been just ahead of where it all unfolded.
Mate, it looked like an aeroplane crash behind me. I actually asked in Discord if there'd been a plane crash, because yeah, it was wild. Very lucky. So you have times where you get unlucky and you have times where you get lucky, and you obviously just got to take stock of the times you do get lucky.
Like you said, it's been an up and down season for you so far, but how much confidence does tonight's result give you heading into the Enduros?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I've started full-time work and not offering excuses. Everyone's got to deal with it, but I've definitely got a lot less time to drive on the sim than what I have been. Like, for example, I haven't played iRacing for 3 weeks, basically, before Sunday. So it's been been different than what I was doing in the past. But in some way, the results aren't that much different, I suppose. So it's an interesting discussion about what's the right amount of preparation to put in. But yeah, like, it's been a pretty rough season for me. Just made a lot of mistakes and not driven very well at all. But you still press on. You still try to get better, and I still love racing. So yeah, I'm definitely happy with how tonight went.
So before we let you go, Josh, who would you like to thank?
Yeah, like Madison said, Brady, he put in a mega amount of effort for this weekend, for this race, I should say. Yeah, the car was like, he was really quick. He was wrecking all of us on the same set. So that's when you got some work to do. He just got unlucky with how the night fell for him. But yeah, I got to thank him. He did the lion's share of the work to get the car in the window. We weren't. I don't know if we were that quick, but yeah. And then obviously Richard as well. He read the rule. Like, I wasn't aware of the rules. I normally read the sub regs, but tonight I didn't. So yeah, so that's Richard. Saved our bacon there. But yeah, everyone at TTR, I love being part of the team. We all get on well, and we basically get on a practice and spend half the time bantering with each other, which is what you want in a team. So yeah, it's great to be part of that team. And then when you get the results, you feel pretty good about it all.
Yeah, well, it's all about having fun, that's for sure, and good to see that it's a nice, fun environment there at TTR.
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's why we do it. Like, it's if it's not fun, then you're not going to do it. So.
All right, well done tonight, and all the best for the Enduros.
No worries. Thanks, Lockie. Have a good one, mate.
There we go. So that wraps up all of the action from round number 7 of the Logitech G Pro Invitational Series. Brenton, a bit of carnage tonight, particularly in that second race. Like you said, it was a bit of a dog's breakfast, which was a shame, and definitely the driving standards observer Thomas Randall and the stewards are going to have a bit of work to do in going back and analysing everything from that. But that is our final sprint round before we get into the season of endurance.
Concrete wall street circuit sprints don't work. To be honest with you, like we got away with it in race 1, I guess, but yeah, certainly race 2 when there was allowed to be more aggression because there's no penalty for not going up on the grid for race 2, but that showed, and yeah, it is what it is, and we move on. There's better things happening in front of us with the Enduro Series starting on September 1, and we really look forward to that.
Yeah, it should be really good. So the Sandown 500 comes up on the 1st of September and then the Bathurst 1000 on the 1st of October. Congratulations to Madison Down, our round winner tonight. Big thank you to my co-commentator, Brenton O'Brien, and also Luke Lucas from Race Stars TV for putting all of the coverage together. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Lockie Mansell. See you next time. Bye for now.